Chapter 2045. Even though Yi Lanqi's potential could not compare to the moon god Sprout's, it was still quite great. In the future, she would become a peerless expert, and Zhao Fu did not want her to die like this. Yi Lanqi looked at Zhao Fu with a resolute gaze and said, "I feel that that's where I belong. Only there can I obtain the greatest power. I also want to become someone who can help you." Seeing the moon god Sprout awaken the 10 celestial body and awaken the god race's emperor star, Yi Lanqi felt even more inferior. In the end, she made this decision. She wanted to become someone like the moon god Sprout and help Zhao Fu with various things in the future, reducing the pressure on Zhao Fu and making Zhao Fu happy. She had personally been to the Forbidden Land of Darkness, so she naturally understood how terrifying the Forbidden Land of Darkness was. It could also be life-threatening, and one might even be sealed there by that sealing power, unable to come out forever. However, she still wanted to go because that was her only chance. Moon God Yi looked at Yi Lanqi in a daze and felt some admiration for Yi Lanqi for making such a decision. She understood Yi Lanqi's feelings towards Zhao Fu. If she died in the darkness forbidden area, the moon god Sprout would feel quite bad, so she said, "I don't mind if you become my husband's woman. After all, he has so many women. I want you to come with me to the half-celestial world. With your potential, you'll definitely be valued and become a powerful person." Hearing the moon god Sprout's words, Yi Lanqi felt quite panicked and embarrassed. She had never thought that the moon god Sprout would be able to see through her thoughts. However, she made up her mind and said, "Thank you for your kind intentions, but I've decided to go to the darkness forbidden area." Zhao Fu looked at Yi Lanqi seriously and asked, "You've really decided to go there?" Yi Lanqi resolutely nodded. Zhao Fu continued to ask, "Is there a way to ensure your safety? If there isn't, I won't agree to go to the darkness forbidden area." Night Curtain Creek was closely related to the darkness forbidden area, and entering it would allow one to obtain immense power. However, even Zhao Fu hadn't fully explored that place yet, so entering it could lead to great mishap. Zhao Fu didn't want his subordinates to die. Hearing the concern in Zhao Fu's words, Yi Lanqi felt a surge of warmth in her heart, and a smile appeared on her face. "I have a sliver of confidence in entering that place, and I also have a way to ensure my own safety. You don't have to worry about me, sir." Seeing Yi Lanqi's resolute expression, Zhao Fu sighed. "All right then. Once we're done here, I'll personally escort you back to the Forbidden Land of Darkness." "Yes, thank you, sir," Yi Lanqi said with a smile. Following this, the altar was also completed. It was 30 or so meters tall and 10 or so meters wide, and it was made from ordinary mountain rocks. The interior of the altar was made from some relatively precious materials, and there was also a magic formation above the altar. Zhao Fu brought everyone to the altar and contacted the Celestial Spirit Palace's people. Standing at the center of the magic formation, Zhao Fu took out the King of Kings' sword and gripped the hilt with both hands. He sent a wave of King of Kings' power into the sword, causing it to give off a golden light and a powerful aura to spread out, giving off a terrifying might. Right now, Zhao Fu's King of Kings' power was quite weak, and he hadn't controlled it for long, so he could only use the King of Kings' sword. Holding the King of Kings' sword's hilt with both hands, Zhao Fu raised it and stabbed it into the ground. The King of Kings' sword gave off immense power as it stabbed into the altar. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the magic formation was instantly activated, giving off a powerful golden ray of light that shot into the sky with shocking power. It slammed into the sky, causing golden ripples of light to spread out. A golden pillar of light formed as the magic formation absorbed heaven and earth power, maintaining the golden pillar of light. The King of Kings' sword said, "After so many years, this is the first time we've contacted the Celestial Spirit Palace. The process might be quite slow, so you'll need to wait for a while." "I know," Zhao Fu replied. Boom! Just as Zhao Fu finished speaking, A massive explosion sounded out as an extremely terrifying might flooded out from the sky. The space seemed to freeze, looking incredibly terrifying. A figure appeared in the sky and descended along the golden pillar of light, giving off an incredibly terrifying aura. Finally, a woman stood in front of Zhao Fu. She was extremely beautiful and had long, jet-black hair. She had a graceful figure and wore a white dress. She gave off a celestial aura and had a violet sword at her waist. The King of Kings' sword felt quite surprised and had never thought that someone from the Celestial Spirit Palace would come so quickly. Ordinarily, it would take a long time to communicate and talk before someone would descend. However, someone had come, and this person was not ordinary at all. The woman's gaze fell on Zhao Fu's body, and she looked quite serious as she said, "You're the second King of Kings? The person with 6 Supreme Emperor stars?" Zhao Fu felt quite startled. It seemed that this woman had heard about him. It seemed that he had long since attracted the attention of some Saint-grade factions. This was quite dangerous. Saint-grade factions reigned above Emperor-grade factions and were even more terrifying. If they started to pay attention to Zhao Fu, it would be even more dangerous for Zhao Fu, and he would be even more powerless against a Saint-grade faction. Facing the woman's words, Zhao Fu did not hide anything and nodded seriously as he said, "I am." A moving smile appeared on the woman's face as she said, "I am the 8th Palace Master of the Celestial Spirit Palace, Xianlu. Many Saint-grade factions have been paying attention to you, and I've always been curious about what kind of person you are. Now that I've finally met you, I can see that you're indeed extraordinary." Hearing the Celestial Spirit Palace's Palace Master Xian Li's words, Zhao Fu realized that the matter he had caused had attracted the attention of a Saint-grade faction. Xian Lu knew that he would definitely come to find her, so after Zhao Fu used the King of Kings' sword to contact her, she immediately came. Seeing that she did not have any ill intentions, Zhao Fu felt a bit more at ease. This woman seemed to be much more powerful than higher beings, and if she acted, Zhao Fu would not have any hope of escaping at all. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile. Even though this woman looked young, who knew how old she was? Moreover, she controlled a Saint-class faction. Zhao Fu's tone became respectful as he said, "Senior, you praise me too much. Compared to people from Saint-grade factions like you, I'm still far from them." Xian Li lightly laughed as she said, "A Saint-grade faction would not be able to nurture someone like you. Your appearance caused many Saint-grade factions to feel quite shocked, and some Saint-grade factions are searching for you. In the future, your accomplishments will only be greater than mine. Why have you come to find me? According to the contract from back then, the Celestial Spirit Palace will be your most reliable ally. You can rest assured." Chapter 2046. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I came to find Senior because I want Senior to take in and nurture some people. I hope that Senior can agree, and I'll definitely repay you in the future." Xian Lu thought of something and lightly laughed. She looked behind Zhao Fu and looked at the moon god Sprout. Is she the woman with the 10 celestial body and the god race's emperor star? Zhao Fu smiled and nodded before turning to look at the moon god Sprout, indicating for her to come up. Moon god Sprout understood Zhao Fu's intentions and walked up. Facing an existence like Xian Lu, Moon god Sprout felt quite nervous, and she bowed as she said, "I greet Senior." Xian Lu smiled and nodded. "It's the first time I've seen someone with the 10 celestial body and the god race's supreme emperor star. With these two things, she'll definitely become a celestial in the future. I can bring her to Celestial Spirit Palace and nurture her with all my strength." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Thank you, Senior. Beautiful big sister. We want to go too," Shen Xiaoyi said as she looked at Xian Lu, looking quite expectant. This caused Wu 5 and Wu Yi to break out in cold sweat. They were facing an existence that surpassed higher beings and controlled a Saint-class faction. If they made her angry, no one would be able to stop her. Xian Lu smiled and lightly nodded. No problem. Shun Xiaoyi happily smiled and immediately went up to hug the moon god Sprout. Big sister, let's go to Celestial Spirit Palace together. The moon god Sprout gave a beautiful smile and hugged Shin Xiaoyi as she nodded. Xian Li's gaze returned to Zhao Fu. What about you? Will you come with me to Celestial Spirit Palace? Back then, the King of Kings gave us the half-celestial world, which we owe him greatly. If you come with us, we'll also do our best to nurture you and make you the most powerful person in the world. Also, you should prepare yourself. You have 6 Supreme Emperor stars and a large amount of world origin chi. In the future, you'll definitely be a very important person, so you need to quickly become more powerful. Most saint-rank factions wouldn't dare approach you directly because they're afraid of being tainted by the world Genesis chi on you. If calamity befalls, they'll be dragged into it. But Immortal Spirit Palace has chosen to help you. Now that you understand their sincerity, they're the best choice for you. She also wanted Zhao Fu to join Immortal Spirit Palace. With Zhao Fu's current potential, his future was unimaginable. He would definitely become the most important person in the world. No one could compare to him. Moreover, if Zhao Fu were to grow up, Immortal Spirit Palace would gain an extremely formidable presence, which would be of great help to Immortal Spirit Palace. Also, Zhao Fu was hiding a lot of things. His aura was very complicated and terrifying. Each of these things could shake the world, and Xian Lu wanted to know what they were. After all, ordinary people would not be able to awaken 6 Supreme Emperor stars. There was probably no one in the world who wouldn't be interested in what Zhao Fu was hiding. The things involved were simply too terrifying and important, so even saint-rank factions were searching for Zhao Fu. She had been waiting for this day, mainly because she wanted him to become the second King of Kings. If Zhao Fu hadn't become the King of Kings, she wouldn't have been so confident that the person the entire world was searching for would find her. If it wasn't for the restrictions of the bloodline contract, she would have long since disregarded her image and attacked Zhao Fu. Facing an existence like this, who wouldn't be tempted, including celestials? Even in the celestial world, people like Zhao Fu were incredibly rare, and it was possible that they didn't even exist. This showed how rare and precious they were. Immortal Spirit Palace knew quite a bit about the celestial world because the previous few palace lords had all been celestials and had gone to the celestial world. As such, even though they would be dragged into the tribulation, Immortal Spirit Palace had massive benefit. As such, Xian Lu greatly wanted Zhao Fu to join Immortal Spirit Palace. To ordinary people, this was a dream opportunity, but Zhao Fu had refused. After all, he was not alone. He had the Qin Empire. Hearing Zhao Fu refuse, Xian Lu felt a bit disappointed and asked, "Why is that? Your situation is quite dangerous, and if you're caught by others, they won't be as easy to talk to as I am." Zhao Fu explained, "I have my own faction, and I won't abandon them. Also, I'm going to the center of the God world to participate in the God competition and obtain massive amounts of the God race's fate to awaken the God race's Emperor star." Xian Lu said in shock, "You already have the ability to awaken the God race's Emperor star?" Zhao Fu replied, Apart from the God race's Emperor star, I also want to go to the Spirit domain and Water domain to awaken the other 2 Supreme Emperor stars." Xian Lu felt quite shocked. Even though she had expected that Zhao Fu would have 8 Supreme Emperor stars in the future, hearing Zhao Fu say it so casually, Xian Lu was quite shocked. She understood what this meant. Xian Lu could not even imagine what kind of person Zhao Fu would become and what kind of power he would have in the future. It was possible that Zhao Fu would shake the entire celestial world. If Immortal Spirit Palace was dragged into this, the consequences would be unimaginable, so she had to be careful. After thinking for a while, Xian Lu said, "All right then. I respect your decision, but if you really want to awaken the Emperor stars of the 8 great races, Immortal Spirit Palace will need to cut off contact with you for a while to avoid the influence of your world's origin chi on Immortal Spirit Palace." Also, don't worry, you're the legatee of the first King of Kings, so we'll do our best to help you. Perhaps you'll be able to inherit the first King of Kings' will and unify the heaven-awakened world. A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face as he said, I understand. Xian Lu took out a white command medallion that was as big as a palm and seemed to be made of jade. Mist swirled around it, and the words Celestial Hidden were written on it. This is for you. You've caused such a big commotion in the godly world, and there are now countless experts gathered at the center of the godly world. There are many hidden saint-class factions here as well. This can hide your aura, and even saint-class factions people won't be able to detect your aura. Zhao Fu received the command medallion in delight and thanked Xian Lu. With this, he would be much safer heading to the godly world. Following this, Zhao Fu came outside the golden pillar of light, and everyone else walked into it. Only Yilan Shi and the golden flower ancestor remained where they were. Xian Lu gave off a wave of power that covered everyone within the golden pillar of light. They turned into rays of light and disappeared into the sky, and the golden pillar of light also dimmed and disappeared. There had been a large group of people on the altar, but now only Zhao Fu, the golden flower ancestor, and Yilan Shi remained, looking quite lonely. Chapter 2047. Zhao Fu went up and took out the King of Kings' sword before turning to the two women and saying, Flower Ancestor, I'm going to take Yilan Shi back to the darkness forbidden region. I'm going to take Yilan Shi back to the forbidden land of darkness. Do you want to come with us or wait here? The flower ancestor calmly replied, I'll stay here. Zhao Fu did not say anything else and looked at Yilan Shi as he smiled and said, Let's go back together then. Yilan Shi embarrassedly said, Sir, I can go back by myself. I can go back alone. You don't have to trouble yourself. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, The darkness forbidden region is too dangerous and it's so far away. I'll be worried if you go back by yourself. Yilan Shi's face became slightly red as she lightly nodded. Following this, the golden flower ancestor stayed behind while Zhao Fu brought Yilan Shi into the sky and disappeared. A few days later, Zhao Fu and Yilan Shi hurried back to the darkness forbidden region. There were no changes here, just like when Zhao Fu had left. However, Zhao Fu paid some attention to the village that had been massacred. After Zhao Fu had killed everyone in the village, Zhao Fu did not have time to deal with the corpses. It was impossible for him to just dig a hole and bury them all. Now, all of the corpses had disappeared, and there were no signs of wild beasts eating them. There was blood everywhere, but there were no corpses left. The village was silent, making it seem quite strange. Zhao Fu looked around the village, and did not find anything out of place. He did not pay much attention to it and went to the outskirts of the darkness forbidden region. Turning his head to look at Yilan Shi, he said seriously, Can you still feel that powerful sealing power? Once I go in, I won't be able to change anything. It's not too late for you to change your mind. A trace of a smile appeared on Yilan Shi's face. Even though they had been traveling for the past few days, she had enjoyed these few days and said, The powerful sealing power is still there, but I've made up my mind to go in. There's source energy within. Zhao Fu felt quite helpless and said, Since you've made your decision, let's go in. Yilan Shi softly nodded. Following this, Zhao Fu and Yilan Shi entered the darkness forbidden region. Yilan Shi immediately felt a powerful power weighing down on her body, causing her body to become unsteady. Zhao Fu hugged her and asked caringly, Are you all right? Yilan Shi lay in Zhao Fu's embrace and gave a sweet smile. I'm fine, sir, let's continue onwards. Zhao Fu understood that it was the sealing power, so he hugged Yilan Shi and flew into the sky, wanting to reach the center of the forbidden area of darkness as soon as possible. Darkness roar. Massive roars sounded out as leopard-like creatures appeared. They had scales and were jet black all over. Their gazes were cold and they gave off a dark aura, and there were many of them. These were the darkness beasts from the darkness forbidden region. Last time, Zhao Fu had killed many of them, and now, the number of darkness beasts seemed to have been replenished. Seeing these darkness beasts, Zhao Fu held Yilan Shi with one hand and took out the Emperor Killing Sword with the other, preparing to kill these darkness beasts. However, something unexpected happened. When the darkness beast saw Yilan Shi, it did not attack the two of them, and it instead knelt on the ground, seeming to be subservient. Now that Zhao Fu thought about it, Yilan Shi seemed to have the ability to control darkness beasts. Yilan Shi did not use any of her abilities, but the darkness beasts seemed to submit. It seemed that they acknowledged Yilan Shi's identity. Since they did not attack, Zhao Fu did not have time to deal with them and flew into the sky with Yilan Shi. A while later, Zhao Fu and Yilan Shi arrived at the center of the darkness forbidden region. Looking at the massive crater in front of him, Zhao Fu remembered that when he had tried to enter last time, he had been sent flying by a restrictive power. That power was incredibly terrifying, and even with Zhao Fu's current strength, he could not defend against it. Now that Yilan Shi had come here, the restrictive power had become even more powerful, weighing down on her body. Her face became quite pale, and her power quickly weakened. Seeing her like this, Zhao Fu said worriedly, "In your current state, it's best if you don't go in. Otherwise, if something happens, you won't be able to resist at all." Yilan Shi lightly shook her head and gave a weak smile as she said, "Sir, there's no need to try to persuade me. I also want to become someone like you and have the power to help you." Zhao Fu could not help but feel quite moved. He looked down at Yilan Shi in his embrace and said, "Be careful. If there's any danger, don't force yourself. I'll wait here for a while, and you can immediately come out." Yilan Shi lightly nodded. Finally, she hugged Zhao Fu tightly before letting go of Zhao Fu and walking towards the crater. Zhao Fu immediately became cautious. He did not know if the restrictive power that was blocking him would also block Yilan Shi. It would be best if it blocked her, but in actuality, Zhao Fu did not want Yilan Shi to go in because it was too dangerous and he did not have any confidence. Yilan Shi's body slowly walked forwards, and her steps seemed to be light as she walked into the large crater. The restrictive power that had been blocking Zhao Fu seemed to have disappeared. As Yilan Shi entered, the large crater gave off a large amount of black fog, completely obscuring his vision. Zhao Fu waited outside. After Yilan Shi entered the large crater, she seemed to have entered a dark space. The scene was completely different from the crater. Suddenly, a strange silver laugh sounded out as pairs of blood-red eyes appeared within the darkness. Figures walked out from the darkness. They were the villagers from before, and they were led by the old village chief. At this moment, the villagers all had blood-red eyes, bone horns on their heads, and scales all over their bodies, making them look quite ferocious. Seeing this group of people, Yilan Shi felt quite startled. Who would have thought that all of the dead villagers would appear here? Outside the forbidden area's core, Zhao Fu had waited for half a day, but Yilan Shi had not come out. He did not know what had happened, but since Yilan Shi had not come out after such a long time, it was impossible for her to come out. As such, Zhao Fu could only leave the forbidden area of darkness. She was 17 years old, about the same age as the moon god Sprout. Zhao Fu cared about her, and she was Zhao Fu's subordinate. If she really died here, Zhao Fu would not feel good. He could only hope that nothing had happened to Yilan Shi. After a few days, Zhao Fu returned to where he had been before, and the Golden Flower Ancestor silently waited for Zhao Fu. Seeing that only the Golden Flower Ancestor was left, Zhao Fu lightly smiled and said, "You can choose to follow me to the center of the godly world, or you can wait here for me to come back." Chapter 2048. The Golden Flower Ancestor said expressionlessly, "I'll choose a place to wait for you." Zhao Fu bitterly laughed. In the end, he went to the center of the god world by himself. However, Zhao Fu was quite dissatisfied with the Golden Flower Ancestor's attitude. He stretched out his hand and released the 6 desires demonic chi seal within her body. The golden flower ancestor's face immediately became red and her breathing became ragged. The golden flower ancestor glared at Zhao Fu in embarrassment and anger. However, her body quickly became powerless and she leapt into Zhao Fu's embrace and kissed and caressed Zhao Fu. She took off her clothes, revealing her beautiful and enchanting body. Zhao Fu lightly laughed and sealed the 6 desires demonic chi. The golden flower ancestor returned to normal, but she still powerlessly leaned against Zhao Fu and said angrily, "How could you do this to me?" Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "You need to understand that I'm your master. In the future, you need to be more respectful and courteous to me, understand?" The golden flower ancestor coldly harumphed, "If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have submitted to you or followed them to the half-immortal world." Zhao Fu smiled and released the 6 desires demonic chi seal. The golden flower ancestor once again uncontrollably started to kiss Zhao Fu and said with a look of desire, "Master, I want it." Only then did Zhao Fu feel satisfied and once again sealed the 6 desires demonic chi. The golden flower ancestor's face became red and she powerlessly leaned against Zhao Fu's body and did not say anything. She now understood how despicable Zhao Fu was. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Put on your clothes. You can wait for me wherever you want. I'll let you know after I'm done with the God world." The golden flower ancestor's face became red as she said, "When are you going to break through?" Zhao Fu smiled as he asked, "Do you really want it now?" The golden flower ancestor pouted coquettishly at Zhao Fu, "It's all because of your scoundrel master. You clearly can't satisfy others, yet you still use such a method to torture them, causing them to feel so uncomfortable." Zhao Fu lightly laughed and said, "Then don't blame me. Who told you to have that kind of attitude from before? You must understand that I'm the sovereign king and your master." The golden flower ancestor admitted defeat and said, "I understand, you are my master." Zhao Fu revealed a satisfied smile. "Then leave it here. I'm going to head to the center of the God realm soon. The competition of the gods is about to start." The golden flower ancestor hugged Zhao Fu and looked at Zhao Fu with his golden eyes. "Then I'll wait for you to come back. But after you break through, you must pamper me properly until I'm satisfied." Zhao Fu responded with a smile. The golden flower ancestor's expression returned to normal, and she put on her golden dress, looking incredibly cold. Zhao Fu could not help but lift up the golden flower ancestor's chin, causing her face to become slightly red, and Zhao Fu withdrew his hand in satisfaction. Following this, Zhao Fu and the golden flower ancestor decided to meet at a place where she would wait for Zhao Fu, while Zhao Fu turned into a ray of light and flew over the horizon. The place where Zhao Fu had been before was at the center of the God realm. There was still a month or so before the competition of the gods started, so Zhao Fu had enough time to get there. Because there was only Zhao Fu by himself, he did not have to travel as slowly as before. As such, he hurried at his full speed and did not rest at all. In the end, it only took Zhao Fu 7 days to reach the center of the God realm. By now, even though the competition of the gods had not started, countless experts had arrived. It was not just the God realm experts. Many experts from the Heaven Awaken world had come as well. The organizers of the competition of the gods had started to make preparations, and the streets were filled with people. There were festive ribbons and diagrams, and the scene was incredibly lively. This competition of the gods was undoubtedly the event that received the most attention in history. After all, not only were there 2 people with Emperor stars participating, but there was also someone with a 10-ene celestial body and Emperor star. The most terrifying thing was that it was possible that the person with 6 Emperor stars would also participate in this event and awaken the god race's Emperor star. News of this had long since spread, and countless people were quite curious about just what kind of person such a terrifying existence was. It was because of this curiosity that countless people had come to the center of the god realm. Otherwise, there would not be so many people. The previous competition of the gods had only been 10% as lively as this one. What was more important was that there were still 20 or so days until the competition of the gods officially began. When that time came, there would most likely be even more powerful people, and there would be countless experts. The scene would be incredibly shocking. Ordinary people just wanted to see what kind of person Zhao Fu was, but the various experts did not have good intentions towards Zhao Fu. Some people were worried that the person with 6 emperor stars would not come, as the god realm had already gathered countless terrifying experts, and there were many higher beings among them. With so many terrifying people, let alone a fly, not even a speck of dust would be able to fly in. Moreover, even if he came in, he would not be able to hide all of his information, as he would have to compete with others. That way, it would be difficult for his identity to not be exposed. However, once his identity was exposed, how could he face the countless experts? There was no way he could resist. Unless he was an immortal-level existence, the only result would be death. As such, if the person with 6 emperor stars came, he would be sending himself to his death. If the 10 celestial body came, the result would be the same. Even if ordinary people knew that they would be sending themselves to their deaths, they would not be so stupid as to send themselves to their death. As a terrifying person, how could he send himself to his death? Everyone felt quite worried about this, and was worried that they would be waiting for nothing. However, some people believed that Zhao Fu would come. After all, whoever obtained first place in the competition of gods would receive the entire god realm's fate. If Zhao Fu wanted to awaken the god race's emperor star, he had to participate in the competition of gods. If he did not want to do this, he would not be able to awaken the god race's supreme emperor star. After all, it was not so easy to awaken the god race's supreme emperor star, and the god race's supreme emperor star was even more difficult to awaken than other races' emperor stars. Those who had been planning to watch the competition of gods felt a massive pressure. Before, when the person with 2 supreme emperor stars had participated, everyone had felt immense pressure, as they knew that they would not be able to defeat those 2 people. However, now that someone with 6 supreme emperor stars had appeared, it was even more impossible. It was as if the sky was going to collapse. Some people with cowardly personalities were so scared that they did not dare to participate at all. They planned to just be spectators and watch. After all, they would not be able to win. Some courageous and strong-willed people were not willing to admit defeat just because they were scared. That would be too cowardly. Even though they understood that they would not be a match for such a terrifying person, they wanted to see just what kind of person that person was. Chapter 2049. All of the participating godly spirits were geniuses of their factions, and none of them were weak. Otherwise, they would not have the guts to come to the center of the godly world to participate. As such, there were many godly spirits participating this time. In fact, because of Zhao Fu's appearance, there were even more godly spirits participating. They wanted to see the power of someone with 2 emperor stars and 6 supreme emperor stars. Now that the 2 emperor stars knew that Zhao Fu was coming, they felt immense pressure. Facing such a powerful existence, they did not have the confidence to defeat him. That person's might was just that terrifying. Zhao Fu had already arrived at the center of the godly world, but there were still 20 or so days before the god competition began. There were too many experts gathered here, so Zhao Fu was not too worried. With the medallion that Xian Lo had given him, these people would not be able to discover him. However, if he took the initiative to reveal his identity, no matter how stupid they would know who he was. Right now, Zhao Fu had to investigate all sorts of information and make preparations to prevent anything unexpected from happening. Following this, Zhao Fu found out about the god competition. The god competition was to be held in a secret realm to prevent others from interfering. This was to ensure the safety of the participants, which was exactly what Zhao Fu wanted. If it was like fighting with the war god, they would be on a stage with everyone watching. Zhao Fu would not dare to go up at all, because once his identity was revealed, the higher beings would immediately attack. How could Zhao Fu resist? As such, if it was a competition like that, Zhao Fu definitely would not dare to go up. That would be seeking death. Even though the god race's fate was quite important, Zhao Fu would not treat his life as a joke. That secret realm was not simple at all and was extremely terrifying. Even celestials could not break through that secret realm. After all, that secret realm was related to the godly world's supreme armament. Ever since the godly world had been created, a mirror had appeared and floated in the sky. This mirror was not very big, and it was the size of a normal mirror. It was shaped like a crystal and was white. There were runes all around the mirror, and there was a scene of the sky engraved on the back of the mirror. No one knew why there was such a mirror, and no one knew if it was formed by itself or if someone had specially made it and placed it there. Back then, there didn't seem to be any gods in the god realm. The countless people living in the god realm worshipped the mirror as their god. The mirror was no ordinary object. It seemed to have been forged from the essence of the god world. It was an extremely precious treasure, and possessed immense godly power. It could easily summon the wind and summon the rain and transform the heavens and the earth. That was why so many commoners worshipped it. However, the mirror did not respond to the faith of the commoners. It simply floated in the sky alone. Time passed day by day, and the godly world gradually developed. The mirror also started to grow, and it became larger and larger. It also became more and more powerful, and it gave off a pressure that could suppress the godly world. At this time, countless people still believed in the mirror. Although there was no response, the power of the mirror itself was too terrifying. Although they said they believed in the mirror, they were actually more afraid that the mirror would harm them. Moreover, the might that the mirror gave off caused everyone to live under its shadow. No one dared to start any battles, and they did not even dare to fight for fear of being punished by the mirror. This sort of life was quite peaceful, and there weren't many disturbances or dangers. Time gradually passed, and by now, there were already people who continuously cultivated and obtained great power. Facing the might of the mirror in the sky, some people impatiently started to resist, wanting to challenge the mirror's authority. They did not want to live under the mirror's might, so they started the first battle in the godly world's history. Back then, a peerless genius appeared, and he obtained unimaginable power in a short period of time. He could cause space and time to turn into nothingness, and the heavens and earth to collapse. Many experts followed him, which was why he dared to start a battle against the mirror. Without that person's leadership, no one would have dared to challenge the mirror, which had existed for countless years and contained the godly world's source energy. Even though countless people were filled with fighting spirit at the start of the battle, and it was as if no one was a match for them, countless people had placed their hopes on them. However, the outcome was incredibly bitter. Many experts followed that peerless genius, and they gave off terrifying auras as they turned into rays of light and rushed into the sky, challenging the mirror in the sky. There were hundreds of millions of them, and they filled the sky. Clouds and clouds gathered, giving off an unstoppable aura. It was as if they could destroy the heavens, and the scene was incredibly shocking. It was the first time that the mirror had revealed its true power. In that instant, the heavens and earth dimmed, and clouds swirled as space and time collapsed. Boom! 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 The mirror gave off boundless white rays of light, and each ray of light was as big as an arm. They gave off destructive power as they shot towards the people who challenged it incredibly quickly, and they only tore through the air. The hundreds of millions of people who dared to challenge the mirror were instantly pierced by the rays of light. Their bodies were turned into dust by the terrifying power, and large craters appeared in the ground. Just like that, 80% of the experts died, and the remaining 20% continued to challenge the mirror. Boom, 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 terrifying attacks containing destructive power filled the sky as they flew towards the divine mirror, seeming to be able to shatter the heavens. However, facing such powerful attacks, the mirror only slightly trembled, and a white ripple spread out. The attacks were all shattered by a wave of energy, and they were not able to harm the mirror at all. Facing these people who dared to challenge its authority, the God mirror once again attacked. Rays of white light containing terrifying power shot towards those people, wanting to blast them into smithereens. At that moment, that peerless genius did not want to see countless people die again, so he exploded out with his full power. The highest God star gave off boundless supreme Emperor star power as it descended, blocking the countless rays of white light. That peerless genius was the first person in the godly world to have a God race Emperor star. With the God race's supreme Emperor star's power, the people resisting had a trace of resistance against the God race God mirror, but the situation was still quite disadvantageous. Without the God race's supreme Emperor star's help, the people resisting would be completely crushed. The mirror's power surpassed countless people's imaginations, and even if there were 100 times more people, it would be useless. The most crucial part of this battle was that peerless genius. Only he had a trace of hope of bringing everyone to victory. Chapter 2050. The battle continued. After that genius used the boundless Emperor star's power to block the countless rays of light, the remaining experts continued to attack the mirror. Boom, 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 terrifying attacks containing destructive power shot towards the mirror with massive sounds, seeming as if they were going to destroy everything. The scene was just as shocking as last time. Those who could survive the Wave God Mirror's first attack were all incredibly powerful, and none of them were weak. However, in front of the mirror, their power was incredibly powerless. The mirror only gave off a ripple that once again turned the countless attacks into motes of light and dissipated. Facing the mirror that gave off boundless divine might, everyone felt incredibly powerless and minuscule. The mirror was not something that they could resist at all, and everyone felt that there was no hope. Boom! A shocking explosion once again sounded out as that genius roared and used all of the highest God star's power, causing it to give off boundless light, making it look like a white sun. Boom! 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 Rays of starlight containing terrifying power shot towards the divine mirror in the sky, seeming to pierce through the entire sky. Gusts of wind blew out, giving off shocking sounds. The mirror once again gave off white light, and a massive formless energy spread out, forming ripples that seemed to be able to suppress everything as they flowed towards the incoming rays of starlight. Bang! 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 Massive sounds sounded out as the two waves of power collided, resulting in massive explosions. Gales ravaged the surroundings and cold light shot out, creating a terrifying scene. The ripples continued to spread out, and countless rays of starlight continued to shoot towards the mirror with shocking power. Massive sounds continuously sounded out, and it seemed that the countless rays of starlight were about to be destroyed. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the Imperial God star once again gave off boundless Emperor's star power and an earth-shaking aura as it slammed towards the divine mirror. The shock waves were shattered by the massive Imperial God star, causing the divine mirror to tremble. A trace of hope once again appeared in everyone's hearts, and they roared as they unleashed their most terrifying attacks towards the mirror. The mirror continued to give off terrifying divine might as it continued to attack those people. The battle lasted for 7 days, and the situation was extremely tragic. The light was dim, and huge cracks appeared in the sky. Chaotic auras continuously surged in, and the ground was cracked. There was not a single living thing. Originally, there had been over 100 million people waging war against the divine mirror realm, but in the end, there were only 25 people left, including that peerless prodigy. Right now, the 25 people in the sky all had various injuries on their bodies and some bloodstains on them. They looked quite wretched, but their gazes were sharp and their bodies gave off powerful auras, as if they would not submit to the heavens. As for the divine mirror, it had expended a lot of energy, but it was not damaged at all. The battle was not over. Boom, 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 rays of terrifying white light containing terrifying power shot towards the 25 people extremely quickly, and the sky seemed to explode as the divine mirror once again attacked. Now that they were facing the divine mirror's attack, the 25 of them were not afraid at all. Boom! The highest god star gave off a massive wave of emperor star power, forming a white barrier of light that blocked the countless beams of white light. The peerless prodigy was in charge of attacking from the front. He gathered a wave of emperor star power and blasted it towards the divine mirror, while the other 24 people attacked the divine mirror from the sides. Facing such terrifying attacks, the divine mirror automatically gave off a formless barrier, blocking all of the attacks. The divine mirror was no longer the same divine mirror that could ignore everything and suppress everything. It started to defend, showing that it was afraid and worried. However, the divine mirror still had a great advantage. Boom! The divine mirror gathered all of the godly world's power, and massive amounts of heaven and earth power flooded into the divine mirror. An enormous white aura flame appeared on the divine mirror, and white light covered the world. A destructive power spread out, and the heavens and earth seemed to collapse in that instant. The 25 people's expressions were serious, and their gazes were filled with determination. They did not know how many people had died in this battle, and some of them were their family and friends. They could not allow those people to die for nothing. They did not want their family, friends, and descendants to live under the divine mirror's might and live in terror, fearing that the divine mirror would destroy everything. This was their greatest threat, and they had to get rid of it. Even if the divine mirror had boundless divine might and was the ruler of the godly world, they had to resist its might. If the heavens obstructed them, they would pierce through the heavens. If the earth obstructed them, they would crush the earth. Boom! 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 Heaven-shaking explosions sounded out as the 24 people ignited their life force and exploded out with true power, seeming to want to destroy everything. 24 bodies emitted intense lights of different colors. Some were red, some were black, some were green, some were purple, and so on. Following this, the 24 people turned into rays of light and spread out, surrounding the divine mirror. Boom! 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 Massive explosions once again sounded out as the 24 people's bodies gave off powerful light, forming 24 different colored pillars of light. Heaven and earth power continuously flooded into them, seeming to form a heavenly cage, trapping the divine mirror. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the divine mirror burned with an even greater white aura flame. A destructive power exploded out, spreading out in all directions and turning everything into nothingness. The 24 pillars of light were battered by the destructive power, and their power and light quickly weakened. Soon, the divine mirror would be able to escape. Arg! A massive roar sounded out as the final genius raised a hand towards the sky and ignited his life force, controlling the imperial god star to fly towards the divine mirror. The 24 people quickly spread out, and the 24 pillars of light disappeared. Bang! An explosion that sounded as if the heavens and earth were collapsing sounded out, sounding throughout the entire godly world. It was as if thunder had struck one's mind, and one's ears could not hear anything. The genius had detonated his imperial god star. An incredibly terrifying destructive power, bringing with it the power of a thunderbolt, instantly spread out. Everything in the heavens and earth was instantly annihilated as the white light devoured everything. The entire world violently trembled as if the world was about to be destroyed. That peerless genius had disregarded everything and gone all out. He had even detonated his highest god star. That was the god race's supreme emperor star. However, the explosion of this god race's supreme emperor star was still incredibly terrifying, making people feel despair. Chapter 2051. However, after the ripples dissipated, everyone looked at the sky in shock. The massive mirror was completely fine, and it gave off a faint light as it floated in the air. Now everyone truly felt a wave of despair, a feeling of powerlessness. By now they had used all sorts of methods, including burning their life force and even detonating the god race's supreme Emperor Star, but they were still unable to damage the mirror. How were they supposed to defend against the divine mirror? There was nothing they could do now. The mirror's terror far surpassed anything they had imagined, and with their power, they could not destroy it at all. Following this, they would be killed by the mirror, and their families, friends, and descendants would continue to be suppressed by the mirror. Moreover, after this lesson, the mirror would most likely do something else. For example, once their power exceeded a certain level, the mirror would directly kill them or gather together and kill them. In the future, it would only become more difficult for them. However, they could not see any of this because they were about to die. Even if the mirror did not kill them, their injuries and the life force they had just ignited would be enough to kill them. This was especially so for that peerless genius. He had even dared to detonate the god race's Emperor Star, and his body started to suffer boundless fate backlash. He lay on the ground covered with blood, and he was in a much worse state than the others. He would most likely be the first to die. Suddenly, the mirror in the air shot out 25 rays of light. Everyone thought that these rays of light were going to kill them, but they were all wrong. After the 25 rays of light shot into their bodies, they quickly healed their bodies. This made everyone feel quite surprised. Why was the mirror helping them instead of killing them? Everyone could not understand what was going on, and what happened next was even more surprising. Their bodies were controlled by a formless energy, and they flew into the air and floated around the mirror. The mirror gave off an intense white light that covered everyone's bodies. Many runes lit up around the mirror, and a massive wave of divine power flowed out and entered everyone's bodies. Everyone's bodies started to go through changes, and they gained godly spirit constitutions. That wave of power continued to gather within their bodies, forming godhood. In the instant that their godhood was born, they had become gods. They were the original gods of the god world, and 24 of them were godlords. That incomparable genius hadn't died, and had received the approval of everyone. He had become the leader of all the gods. They were the ones who started the era of the ancient gods. After that, the gods kept surging out and finally formed the situation where gods were everywhere today. As for the divine mirror, after sealing many people as gods, it slowly rose up and hid in the void of the god world. It still existed to this day. However, it wasn't as terrifying as it had been in the past. Instead, it was a terrifying pressure weighing down on the living beings of the god world, causing them to feel a sense of dread and pressure. Instead, it was hidden in the void, constantly absorbing the energy of the divine world to grow. Just think about it, that divine mirror was already so terrifying in ancient times. Now that it had grown for so many years, how terrifying would it be? Its power exceeded countless people's imaginations. Even a group of celestials might not be a match for it. That was how terrifying the divine mirror was. Now that the ordinary people knew that there was such a divine mirror hidden in the void, constantly absorbing the power of the god realm to grow, no one planned to continue to resist. First, he knew that he couldn't defeat the divine mirror. Secondly, the divine mirror wasn't threatening them either. With these 2 points, basically no one would be stupid enough to send themselves to death. As such, they could only leave it there. Anyway, they couldn't see it. The secret realm where the god competition was held was under the control of the divine mirror, which was why it was said that even celestials couldn't break it. With the protection of the divine mirror, it was absolutely safe. The contest of the gods started during that period and has continued to this day. That secret realm was personally created by the ancient 24 chief gods and 1 master god. It was located in the middle of the divine mirror. After so many years, It had been affected by the power of the divine mirror and had become really terrifying. Moreover, the secret realm was located in the middle. When the divine mirror continuously absorbed the source energy of the God world, the secret realm also benefited greatly. It was said that there were many rare treasures that ordinary people couldn't see. Each one of them was really strong and had unimaginable power. These things were very tempting to the large factions. If there weren't any restrictions, all the factions would want to occupy the secret realm and not let others explore it. Every once in a while they would be able to enter and obtain precious treasures. The entire faction would grow quickly. Now, this secret realm had such great charm and value. The various factions actively participated in the god competition, not only to obtain glory and rewards from the various factions. More importantly, they wanted to enter the secret realm to obtain great opportunities and rare treasures. There were also the famous experts in the god world. Whether it was now or in the past, most of them had entered the secret realm. This made the secret realm even more mysterious and grand. It was also said that there were inheritances left behind by the ancient 24 gods and that master god. To countless people, this was very attractive. This battle wasn't easy to define. They didn't shatter the divine mirror, but they caused it to retreat into the endless void. They also became the original god. On the other hand, the divine mirror had the ability to kill them. However, for some reason, it retreated into the endless void and made those people god. Although those people hadn't defeated the divine mirror, that didn't mean they were weak. Moreover, as ancient gods, their divine power was the highest level of divine power in the god world. In addition, they had experienced so many years of growth, so their power was even more terrifying. The inheritances they had left behind were naturally very powerful, and everyone wanted to obtain them. This was especially so for that God Lord, who was that peerless genius legacy. He was the first person to have the god race's supreme emperor's star and the first ruler of all gods. If it wasn't for him, no one would have any hope of resisting the god realm. The inheritances he had left behind would definitely be even more powerful than the 24 ancient gods and would make people want them even more. Over the years, there had been other people who had obtained the inheritances of the 24 ancient gods, but no one had obtained that master god's inheritance yet. It was said that it was a legacy that no one could obtain. As for that peerless genius who had become a divine master, the outcome was not very clear. Some people said that he had left the divine world and gone to other places, while others said that he might have died because the backlash from detonating the god race's imperial star was too terrifying. Chapter 2052. Now that Zhao Fu knew about the secret realm, he felt much more at ease and did not have to worry about any terrifying figures forcing their way into the secret realm. If they dared to do that, they might be attacked by the God Mirror, which would be equivalent to seeking death. Who in the Heaven Awakened world could withstand an attack from the God Mirror? Almost no one. This God Mirror also had a name, and it had two names. The first was called the Haotian Mirror, which was what countless people had called the God Mirror in ancient times. It had been a long time, and no one knew why it had been called that. The second was called the Pantheon Mirror, and it was called that because it had made 25 people godly spirits, causing the first batch of godly spirits to appear in the world, starting the age of godly spirit. Without the God Mirror's help, the way of cultivation in the godly world would be the same as in the Heaven Awakened world, and there would not be any godly spirit. It was the God Mirror that started the age of godly spirit. Now, no matter who became a godly spirit, they all seemed to have a slight connection to the Pantheon Mirror. That was why people called it the Pantheon Mirror. In actuality, Zhao Fu felt quite shocked about the Pantheon Mirror's existence, but he could understand why. There was another terrifying thing in the underworld, which was the 6 paths of reincarnation. This thing completely surpassed anyone's imagination, and it was one of the most terrifying things in the world. Moreover, The 6 paths of reincarnation contained the power of the great Tao of reincarnation. Let alone the heaven-awakened world, even the half-celestial world and celestial world felt that this power was incredibly terrifying because it was related to the source of the world. All creatures in the world continuously reincarnated, and all of this was related to the great Tao of reincarnation. It was possible that all creatures in the heaven-awakened world were controlled by the 6 paths of reincarnation, and this concerned all creatures in the heaven-awakened world. This was enough to show how important it was. It was far more important than the Pantheon mirror, which was why the 6 paths of reincarnation was guarded by the 6 paths of reincarnation to prevent anyone from getting close and harming the 6 paths of reincarnation. Zhao Fu knew just how terrifying the 6 paths of reincarnation were because he still had the 6 paths of reincarnation sealed within his body. If the 6 paths of reincarnation's full power was released, even celestials would die. The 6 paths demon images were just that terrifying, or else they would not have caused the entire underworld to feel fear. The 6 paths of reincarnation and the Pantheon mirror seemed to have similar experiences. They both existed from the beginning of the world, floating in the sky or buried deep underground, constantly absorbing the power of the celestial world or the underworld to grow, exerting great pressure on the world. The difference was that the 10,000 gods were in the sky, and the divine might they gave off pressed down on countless creatures, greatly affecting those who lived there. Moreover, countless people could see them with their own eyes, so they started to fight back. The 6 paths of reincarnation was in the space where 9 nether was, and even though it gave off the might of the 6 paths of reincarnation, it did not affect the creatures in the underworld much, as they were all underground. Moreover, there were the terrifying 6 paths demon images guarding the place. The 6 paths of samsara didn't even need to personally take action. The 6 paths of samsara could blast anyone who got close to them into pieces. There were countless living beings in the underworld, so they naturally wouldn't seek death. If the underworld didn't have the protection of the 6 paths demon images and floated in the sky, giving off a massive might that suppressed countless creatures, the godly spirits living in the underworld would most likely start to fight back against the 6 paths demon images. After such a battle, perhaps the underworld would become completely different. Of course, Zhao Fu didn't know what would happen. There were still 20 or so days until the god competition, which was quite long. Zhao Fu didn't know what to do after arriving here. That's right, he had 3 goals for coming to the god world. The first was to obtain first place in the god competition and become the ruler of the god. The reward for obtaining first place was the god flame, which was a flame that had fused with countless godly spirits' power. It was a material for forging the Great Desolate Cauldron. With the Great Desolate Cauldron, the human world's consciousness, Ling Ji, would be able to devour other worlds and continuously grow. Perhaps she would become an existence like the heaven-awakened world. Just thinking about it made Zhao Fu feel excited. Moreover, no matter what happened, Zhao Fu would be able to take Qin out of the heaven-awakened world and into the boundless void. The second thing was to awaken the god race's Emperor Star. Now, Zhao Fu was confident in awakening the god race's Emperor Star. He just lacked a massive amount of god race fate and 10,000 godly power. A massive amount of god race fate could be obtained by becoming the ruler of the god. 10,000 godly power required the fusing of many godly spirits' power, and right now, Zhao Fu's 10,000 godly power was only at the basic level. If he wanted to obtain a higher level of 10,000 godly power, he would need even more godly spirits' power. Countless godly spirits' divine power could be obtained in secret realms, so Zhao Fu didn't have to worry about this. Finally, he had to find the time god and other items that contained large amounts of time attribute. Qin needed them to mass-produce Philosopher's Stones. With the Philosopher's Stone and Blood God pills, Qin would be able to have as many Stage 1 soldiers as he wanted. The Alchemy World, the Devil Horn Empire, and a second Aeolian Empire would all be doomed. In fact, Zhao Fu didn't even fear those royal kingdoms because he had such a powerful backing. Zhao Fu thought of three things. The first two could only be done after entering the secret realm, and the last one could be done now. Within the godly world, time gods were incredibly rare godly spirits, and there were very few of them. Zhao Fu hoped that a time god would come here, or else Zhao Fu wouldn't be able to find him. By now, many godly spirits had arrived, and higher beings would occasionally fly over. They naturally knew about the All-God Mirror. If they allowed Zhao Fu to enter the secret realm, they wouldn't be able to blast it open, and there was a high chance that they would be killed by the All-God Mirror. As such, no higher being would be stupid enough to attack the secret realm. As such, this was the best time to capture Zhao Fu. If they didn't capture Zhao Fu during this time, they wouldn't have any more opportunities to capture Zhao Fu. As such, the higher beings would occasionally fly around in circles. Perhaps there would be unexpected surprises. It wasn't just those higher beings. The other godly spirits were also waiting for Zhao Fu to appear, as well as the 10 celestial body. They wanted to see what the two people who had caused such a ruckus were like. They didn't want Zhao Fu to be captured by those higher beings, and they wanted to see the battle between Zhao Fu and the two people with the Emperor Star. It was said that that person had fought with the Outlander race's Imperial Prince in Outlander 10 College. That had been a world-shaking battle, and countless people had been incredibly shocked. That battle had been hailed as the most legendary battle in Outlander 10 College's history. Chapter 2053. Following this, Zhao Fu spent a few hours and found out about the Time God. There were very few time gods in the godly world, and Zhao Fu did not have much information about them. After investigating for a few hours, he had only found out about one time god, and he was unable to determine where he was. Apart from this, Zhao Fu also obtained information about God Kerr. It was said that God Kerr was the emperor of the Demon Emperor and had the ability to devour tens of thousands of gods. That power was incredibly terrifying, and it had devoured countless godly spirits. It was one of the most terrifying people in the world. There were many terrifying rumors about it in the godly world, and apart from those who had 2 Emperor Stars, it was one of the few people who had a chance of becoming the ruler of all gods. Before, Zhao Fu had said that he could roughly sense God Kerr's location, and he wanted to personally resolve the enmity that had existed for 10 years. Currently, Zhao Fu could sense that God Kerr was at the center of the godly world, and the feeling was incredibly strong. However, he could not pinpoint its exact location. The God Kerr that Zhao Fu had just heard was different from the God Kerr in his mind. One was incredibly tall and powerful, and it had terrifying power, while the other was small and skinny. In the past, it had just been a weak godly spirit. Zhao Fu could not be 100% sure that this God Kerr was the God Kerr in his memories. However, there was a high chance that it was, especially the ability to devour tens of thousands of gods. Zhao Fu also had this ability, and he could sense that God Kerr was at the center of the godly world. It was quite a coincidence that there was a God Kerr at the center of the godly world. If that God Kerr was real, then God Kerr's fortuitous encounters were simply shocking. Back then, it had just been a weak godly spirit, and now, it had become the emperor of an emperor-level faction. However, what Zhao Fu did not know was that God Kerr's current accomplishments were all because of him. This was because Zhao Fu had given it the ability to devour tens of thousands of gods, and it was Zhao Fu who had given it emperor-level fate. Without those two things, it would forever be that weak God Kerr. Zhao Fu knew that God Kerr would also participate in the competition, so he did not go and find God Kerr. After all, he would be able to meet him in the secret realm. Moreover, there were many powerful beings gathered in the center of the immortal realm, so it was not a good idea for a terrifying battle to break out. As soon as something appeared, those powerful beings would swarm over. At that time, Zhao Fu would not even be able to escape. At this time, it was best to find the time god. According to the information that Zhao Fu had gathered, the time god had appeared in a city 3 days ago. He didn't know where he was now, but Zhao Fu knew that the time god liked to drink. 3 days ago, he had fought with someone over a bottle of wine and used the power of time, which was why others knew that he was a time god. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult to determine. Right now, there were countless godly spirits gathered at the center of the immortal realm, but there was only one time god. The main thing was that he had voluntarily revealed himself, so perhaps there were other time gods hidden among them. However, if they did not reveal themselves, Zhao Fu would not be able to find them. Right now, he could only act against that time god. If he obtained some wine and sent out the news, it was possible that he would attract the time god. However, the key thing was that Zhao Fu did not have any wine. Moreover, it seemed that the time god was very picky about wine. If it wasn't an extremely rare wine, he would not drink it. The bottle of wine that he had stolen back then was called Ice Spirit Chilling Wine. It was made from an ice fruit that had been growing for 1,000 years, and it had been sealed in ice for 100 years, causing the wine to have a unique taste. The wine contained a chilling intent, causing one's blood to become cold. If a person with weak strength drank this wine, their body would be sealed in ice. At the same time, there were all sorts of benefits. For example, under the stimulation of ice energy, one's cultivation would become a bit faster, and one might even obtain some ice power. It was also possible that if one drank this wine for a long time, one would obtain an ice body. Right now, what Zhao Fu needed to do was to find a type of wine and send out the news. The time god would most likely come. He was currently at the center of the immortal realm, and once he sent out the news, he would definitely hear about it. Zhao Fu went to the largest store in the area and bought many precious wines. None of these wines were simple, and they were all extremely expensive. There was the longevity wine made from eternal spring leaves, which had the ability to slightly increase one's lifespan. There was also the wind wine made from white wind root, which made drinking it feel as if one was standing in a gentle breeze. There was also the medicinal wine made from lingji, which had the effect of strengthening one's constitution. After buying so many wines, Zhao Fu now had to find a reasonable reason to spread the news. Of course, he would try his best not to make it seem like a trap. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu had an idea. A day later, a large and luxurious residence sent out the news that there was going to be a banquet. There would be all sorts of expensive wines for everyone to taste, and all wine lovers were invited to attend. This time, Zhao Fu spent a large amount of money to buy a lot of wine and used his demonic energy to control a person with some prestige in the area. In actuality, Zhao Fu wanted to buy a courtyard to hold the banquet, but this would be too abrupt. Ordinary people would feel wary and wonder why such a person would suddenly appear and want to hold a banquet. If a person with local authority organized such a banquet, people would not be too suspicious. It was very normal. The news quickly spread. Hearing this, many wine lovers came. The banquet was held in a very spacious room, and there were delicacies and fruits on the table, as well as bottles of fragrant wine. There were many people who came, and seeing this scene, they did not hold back and started to drink. Some people gathered together, talking and laughing, and there were also people who were there to entertain them. Zhao Fu was in a room next to the banquet, waiting for the time god to arrive. Now, the banquet was within Zhao Fu's control, as his power had already spread throughout the room. No matter who came in or out, what auras they gave off, or who was suspicious, Zhao Fu knew all of it. As long as the time god appeared, Zhao Fu would take action. The time god was too difficult to deal with, and if he was not careful, he would run away. Zhao Fu's plan had been going well, but things had not gone as Zhao Fu had expected. Zhao Fu's banquet had been going on for 3 days, but the time god had not come at all. Moreover, more and more people had come, and some people had refused to leave. Zhao Fu did not know what had gone wrong, but he had spread the news and found people to advertise it. If the time god knew, he would most likely come here. Chapter 2054. However, the time god had not come. Could it be that he had miscalculated? Had the time god not come? Master, all of the wine you bought is gone. Should we continue with the banquet? At that moment, an elderly man wearing robes respectfully bowed. He was the owner of this residence and was now under Zhao Fu's control. As long as he was obedient, Zhao Fu promised not to kill him. Zhao Fu thought about it and decided that there was no need to continue with the banquet. It was evident that this method would not be able to attract the time god. If it was the time god, he would not be able to hear the news here. However, if it was about the wine, perhaps it could be solved. Even though the wine here was precious, it was bought with money, so it was not precious enough. After all, one could buy it with money, so the other party just had to spend some money. A godly spirit did not seem to lack money, so even though the other party knew about the banquet, he had not come. Apart from the first possibility, there was only the second possibility. However, where could Zhao Fu get those precious wine that could not be bought with money? This gave Zhao Fu a headache. Weren't you holding a banquet? How come there's no wine? I want wine. At that moment, a dissatisfied voice sounded out. At that moment, a woman walked in. She had a voluptuous figure and wore a red dress. She had a beautiful face and alluring red lips. She gave off a mature aura and gave off an enchanting wine fragrance. Sensing this woman, Zhao Fu could not help but smile. This woman's aura was the aura of a wine god. As a wine god, this woman most likely knew many precious and rare methods to make wine. Capturing her would solve everything. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and said to the elder, "Bring that person in." The elderly man nodded and came outside, smiling as he walked in front of the wine god and said, "Lord Wine God, in order to welcome you, my master has specially prepared precious wine. Please come with me." The wine god coldly harumphed, "If the wine is not to my liking, I won't spare you." She thought that the owner of this manor only had a bit of authority in this place and didn't have much power. She didn't have to worry or be afraid of anything at all. With her strength, she could crush these people. The old man made an inviting gesture as he smiled obsequiously. "I'm sure the god of wine will be pleased." The god of wine didn't say anything else and walked over to the room next door. When he saw the cloaked Zhao Fu, he said bluntly, "You're the owner of this place. Where's the wine you mentioned?" Zhao Fu looked at the god of wine and lightly laughed as he said, "I don't have any wine right now, but I have all sorts of rare ingredients. If you know the recipe, I can give them to you to make wine." The god of wine looked disdainfully at Zhao Fu. "What ingredients do you have? If you can't take out any materials that I'm satisfied with, I'm telling you, you're dead. You even lied to me about having wine." Zhao Fu frowned, a little displeased. "Be more polite when you speak, or else don't blame me." The god of wine said provocatively, "Do you know that I'm the god of wine? You dare to talk to me? Don't think that just because you're famous here, even the city lord has to be polite to me. What do you dare to do to me?" Zhao Fu did not say anything as the golden pupil in his left eye started to spin, and a formless energy spread out. Clang, 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 the sound of chains could be heard as chains shot through the air, bringing with them a powerful force as they flew towards the god of wine incredibly quickly. The god of wine was greatly shocked. She had sensed that Zhao Fu's aura wasn't very strong, so how could he suddenly unleash such a terrifying attack? The god of wine did not hesitate and spread out his hands, causing 2 rays of powerful red light to shoot out, forming a red defensive barrier that looked like a wine bottle. Bang! Bang! The chains contained immense force as they pierced through the wine bottle's defensive barrier, and the god of wine was unable to resist at all as he was bound up by the chains. The god of wine vigorously struggled as he angrily yelled, "Who are you? You used a wine party to scheme against me? Despicable person. If you have the ability, then let me go and capture me in broad daylight. Zhao Fu rolled his eyes as he said, Who used a wine party to scheme against you? If it wasn't for the fact that you're the god of wine, I would have killed you just then. The god of wine angrily yelled, You used a wine party to attract me here, and now that you've captured me, you're still saying that you didn't scheme against me? Don't think that I'm an idiot. Zhao Fu felt quite speechless and did not continue arguing with her, saying, Hand over the wine brewing recipe you have. The more precious the better. I'll provide the ingredients and you can brew it. If you perform well, I'll let you go. The god of wine reacted, saying, You want my wine brewing recipe, and you're still saying that you didn't scheme against me? I worked hard to obtain those recipes. Do you really think that I would hand them over to you? Zhao Fu frowned and stretched out a hand, causing a massive wave of 6 desires demonic qi to flow out and turn into 6 orbs of demonic qi. He walked up and pressed his hand against the god of wine's abdomen, causing the 6 orbs of demonic qi to flow into her. Immediately, the god of wine felt her body heat up, and her face became red. Her breathing became ragged, and that reaction became more and more intense. Sensing the changes in her body, the god of wine understood what Zhao Fu had done to her, and she cursed out in embarrassment, Bastard! Perverted thief! Beast! Zhao Fu was expressionless and ignored her curses. Moreover, the 6 desires demonic qi continuously flowed into the god of wine's body, and she quickly lost her mind and moaned. The elderly man beside her understood what was going to happen, so he obediently left and closed the door. After a while, Zhao Fu stopped sending in the 6 desires demonic qi and sealed it, causing the god of wine to gasp for breath. Zhao Fu expressionlessly said, Can you give me the recipe now? Also, help me brew wine. The god of wine's face became red. She now knew how powerful Zhao Fu was, and she understood that she was not a match for Zhao Fu. As such, her attitude became more courteous as she said, I'll give you the recipe and help you brew wine, but you have to do it with me once. No. I just need your recipe and the wine you brew. You can't have any other conditions, or else I'll continue to treat you like that. Zhao Fu immediately refused. The god of wine looked quite angry, and she felt that Zhao Fu was looking down on her. However, she did not want to feel that way, so she could only suppress her anger and say, All right, I agree. Hurry and let me go. Zhao Fu waved his hand, and the chains binding the god of wine loosened and returned to the void. Following this, the god of wine handed over all of her wine recipes. There were 300 or so of them, and they contained all sorts of wine, as expected from the god of wine. Chapter 2055. There were also wines that were incredibly precious and could not be bought with money. For example, the Dreamland wine required a powerful Dream Soul Beast's dream orb, and the method of brewing it was very special. After consuming a dream orb, one would be able to brew a formless wine in one's dreams. There was also the transformation wine, which required a transformation fruit and 10 different creatures. After brewing, not only did the wine taste unique, but it could also transform into 10 different creatures. There was also the Sky Dragon wine, which required a complete Sky Dragon's body. The process was incredibly complicated, and there were hundreds of steps. After drinking the final Sky Dragon wine, one would obtain the Sky Dragon bloodline. Because the recipes for these wines were too precious, Zhao Fu did not have that many materials. Moreover, these materials could not be bought, so he could not brew such wines. However, the wine god continued to speak. There's also a wine called the Divine Blood wine. This wine is many times more precious and rare than other wines because it can only be brewed with the legendary Divine Blood. This wine truly only exists in legends. Even though I was fortunate enough to obtain the recipe, I was unable to obtain Divine Blood. That person's identity and power are extremely terrifying, and I've never even seen him before, let alone obtained his blood. Zhao Fu's heart sank. That's right. The second king of kings in the competition of the gods has a divine bloodline. You can wait until after he fights with others. Perhaps there will be traces of his blood. You can go and get some, and I'll be able to brew the divine blood wine. This is a legendary wine, and I want to taste it even in my dreams. As long as you let me drink this wine, I'll do anything you want. Seeing the look of worship on her face, Zhao Fu said calmly, Then let's brew this type of wine. The wine god glared at Zhao Fu and said, I already said that only divine blood can be used to brew that legendary wine. Did you not hear me? Zhao Fu glared back at her and said, I know, so I'll have you use my blood to brew this wine. The wine god stared in shock, and felt incredibly shocked. Her expression immediately froze as she looked at Zhao Fu in confusion. You said that you'll use your blood to brew this wine? Does that mean your bloodline is a divine bloodline? Zhao Fu replied softly. And the god of wine's body trembled as if she had been struck by a heavy weight. She couldn't even stand firm. Never in her wildest dreams would she have imagined that a random person she had run into would be the legendary Holy Sun. Wait, Holy Suns were not commonly seen, and there were not many of them. How could he have met a Holy Sun here? The second King of Kings was a Holy Sun. Could it be such a coincidence? He had encountered such a terrifying existence. Now, the wine god was not sure, as this was simply too shocking. Perhaps this person was just an ordinary Holy Sun and not the terrifying second King of Kings, so he asked, Lord Holy Sun, what are you waiting for? Are you related to the second King of Kings? Zhao Fu looked at her and replied, I'm the second King of Kings. The wine god had never thought that this would be true. She had really met the second King of Kings. How was this possible? She could not help but cry out. She stared at Zhao Fu in shock. This person was the second King of Kings, the person who had shaken the entire world. There was no one in the godly world who did not know of him, and many higher beings were searching for him. The wine god felt both excited and shocked, but at the same time, she felt quite afraid. This sort of person was incredibly terrifying. Now that she knew his identity, would he kill her to keep her quiet? The wine god looked quite afraid and immediately bowed to Zhao Fu, saying, I will brew holy blood wine for Lord Holy Sun and definitely won't reveal your identity. Seeing her like this, Zhao Fu could not help but lightly laugh, saying, All right, help me brew the wine. This wine is quite important to me right now. The wine god nodded. Following this, Zhao Fu cut open his arm and let out some blood. The wine god took Zhao Fu's blood and other ingredients and started to brew the holy blood wine. After a few days, the holy blood wine was finally brewed. Within a room, the wine god held a small jade bottle and smiled as she said excitedly, Lord Holy Sun, this is the brewed holy blood wine. Zhao Fu took the jade bottle and opened the cork. A faint, transcendent might spread out, and a dense wine fragrance spread out. Smelling this wine fragrance made one's blood feel as if it had become fiery hot, and it contained a massive amount of power. The wine god stared at the bottle, and could not help but gulp. In front of her was the holy blood wine that she had been dreaming of. She definitely wanted to drink a little, even if it was just a little, but she did not dare to do so. Zhao Fu looked at the bottle and saw that it was filled with a golden liquid that gave off a dense wine fragrance. This was the holy blood wine. However, Zhao Fu did not mind too much because he was just using this wine to attract the time god. He did not like to drink wine. Seeing the wine god like this, Zhao Fu handed the bottle to her and said, It's been hard on you these past few days. You can drink a little, but don't drink too much. I still have use for this wine. The wine god looked delighted and took the jade bottle. She raised her head and carefully poured some holy blood wine into her mouth. As the wine entered her mouth, it flowed down her throat and into her stomach. An indescribable, transcendent, ethereal feeling appeared, as if she was no longer in this world. The wine god carefully savored it, not wanting to break free from that feeling. This was the first time she had tasted such delicious wine. Zhao Fu did not stand on ceremony and took the jade bottle back and put the stopper back in. The wine god came back to her senses and smiled as she leapt into Zhao Fu's embrace and hugged Zhao Fu with both hands as she said, "Lord Holy Sun, can you take me as your attendant? As long as I can drink a little bit of this wine every day, I can serve you every day." Zhao Fu directly refused, saying, "No. Also, let go of me. I have important matters to attend to." The wine god felt quite dispirited and let go of Zhao Fu. She suddenly remembered that when she had been captured by Zhao Fu a few days ago, he had asked her to do it with him, but she had refused. It seemed that his standards were too high and he did not like her at all. However, in the end, he was the legendary king of kings, someone who was highly regarded by the entire world. Ordinary women did not have the right to serve him, and the wine god could accept this. The wine god quickly came back to his senses and smiled, wanting to see what Zhao Fu was going to do with this rare wine. After a few days, she found that Zhao Fu's target was not her, and that wine party seemed to be aimed at someone else. She wanted to see just what kind of person could make an existence like Zhao Fu care so much about them. Not long after, the news was released again. Chapter 2056. The news that was spread was that the residents would soon display an extremely rare wine called the Golden Blood Wine. This wine was guaranteed to be something that almost no ordinary person had ever seen before. It had an unimaginable taste, and all wine lovers could come and see it. Zhao Fu did not use the name of the divine blood wine because hearing the words divine blood wine, everyone would definitely be shocked. Even though this news would spread far and wide, this was related to the legendary divine blood, and it would definitely attract all sorts of experts. That would be incredibly dangerous, and Zhao Fu would not be so foolish. By now, many experts were searching for Zhao Fu. Because Zhao Fu had held a wine banquet a few days ago, everyone had tasted all sorts of precious wines, so they trusted Zhao Fu greatly. They heard that the golden blood wine was going to be displayed, and they had never heard of this wine before. However, after hearing Zhao Fu say that it was so rare, they felt that it was definitely incredibly precious. They could not help but feel curious and once again came to Zhao Fu's residence. There was a small stone table in front of the room, and there was a jade bottle there. The jade bottle had already been opened, and an extraordinary wine fragrance spread out, making people feel as if they were about to be immersed in it. After coming here and smelling this fragrance, everyone could not help but reveal looks of desire. They felt that as long as they could drink this wine, they would be willing to pay any price. Just as Zhao Fu had said, they had never seen this wine before. Just based on the fragrance, it was definitely one of the most precious wines in the world. Some people stood there and lightly smelled the wine's fragrance, looking quite polite and well-mannered. However, some people just wanted to run up and drink it to see just how delicious it was. They had forgotten that Zhao Fu had come to let them watch and not to let them taste it. Boom! As those people came close, the restrictions around the wine appeared and gave off a powerful energy, sending many people flying back and causing them to cough up large mouthfuls of blood. Zhao Fu's goal was to capture the time god and not for these people to drink. Moreover, he had told them that they were here to watch, and if they wanted to drink it, Zhao Fu would not hold back. Seeing so many people vomiting blood on the ground, the crowd became obedient, not daring to step forward. Some people were still unconvinced and made a ruckus. "Why don't you let them drink it? Why did you call them here? There's such a precious wine, why don't you share it with everyone?" "I don't care, I just want this wine. If you don't let me drink it, I won't leave." Zhao Fu didn't have time to deal with these people. However, news of the golden blood wine quickly spread, and everyone knew that it had appeared. Wine lovers from all over the world flocked to this place when they heard the news. Although they hadn't tasted the golden blood wine before, Just smelling the wine's fragrance made everyone feel as if they had fallen into a demon's trap. They wanted to taste it, but there were powerful restrictions protecting it. Almost no one could touch the bottle. After Zhao Fu demonstrated for a day, it was night time. Now, Zhao Fu did not keep anyone else here and asked them to leave. Those who wanted to stay were directly kicked out, and now, there was not a single person around. Only the jade bottle on the stone platform stood there all alone. In the deep blue night sky, resplendent stars twinkled, forming a Milky Way. The night wind blew gently, ruffling the leaves. It was already very late, but there were still quite a few people hiding around Zhao Fu's residence. These people had naturally come to steal the golden blood wine. They couldn't act during the day, but they could act without fear at night. When they smelled the wine's fragrance, their bodies and minds were already immersed in it. They wanted to obtain the wine no matter what price they had to pay. However, because there were simply too many people, they all looked at each other and surrounded the residence, but no one dared to make the first move. The first reason was because of the restrictions around the jade bottle. Those restrictions were very powerful, and not just anyone could break them. The second reason was that even if they obtained the wine, there were simply too many people around. They would definitely be attacked. Holy Sun! What should we do now? Within the room, the wine god looked away and turned to ask Zhao Fu. She realized that Zhao Fu wanted to draw out someone. However, the wine god was not very surprised that so many people wanted to steal the golden blood wine. After all, this wine was brewed from divine blood and was extremely high grade. It had a bewitching charm. Now that the wine god had tasted it, she could still recall the aftertaste of the wine, making her unable to resist it. At the same time, because she had drunk the divine blood wine, she now had a trace of holy energy within her body. This holy energy was extremely weak and could not compare to Zhao Fu's power. However, to ordinary people, obtaining this trace of holy energy was incredibly precious. Now, the wine god was rejoicing that her luck was so good that she had encountered the legendary second king of kings. Zhao Fu looked outside and sensed their auras. They were not the time god that Zhao Fu was looking for. There's no need to worry about them. We'll just wait here for that person to appear. If that person doesn't appear, we'll leave this place first. The wine god gave a trace of a smile. It seemed that Zhao Fu had taken her as a female attendant. By now, the people surrounding the empty space could not help but act. They could not keep waiting like this. The first to act was a rather skinny and weak-looking young man. He took out a yellow talisman and stuck it on his body, and his body melted into the ground as he rushed towards the empty space. Seeing the young man act, the others also used all sorts of methods to rush towards the empty space, wanting to steal the golden blood wine. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a massive aura spread out. The people charging over felt their bodies freeze, and a wave of terror flowed out from their hearts. Crackle, countless blood-red lightning bolts exploded out, lighting up the surroundings and causing massive explosions. They blasted out in all directions, seeming to want to destroy everything. Arg, pained cries continuously sounded out as the blood-red lightning bolts hit those people's bodies. Their bodies violently twitched, and their bodies were charred black and gave off smoke as they died on the spot. In just an instant, the ground was covered with charred corpses, and their eyes were still white as they gave off a pungent, burnt smell. The skinny young man who had acted first was also electrocuted to death. Seeing so many people die in an instant, the remaining people understood that the owner of this residence was incredibly terrifying. It was laughable that they had dared to come and steal his things. The remaining people were given a fright and immediately ran, not daring to stay where they were. They were afraid that Zhao Fu would appear and kill them. The surroundings once again fell silent. Time gradually passed, and Zhao Fu continued to wait. There was no problem with the wine, and it would definitely attract that time god. Chapter 2057. What he was worried about was that the time god had not heard the news and left this place. If that happened, all of Zhao Fu's efforts would have been for nothing. Suddenly, Zhao Fu felt a ripple in time as a cat appeared around the empty space. This cat was bigger than an ordinary cat and was quite fat, like a pig. It had noble violet fur and a pair of silver-white eyes, and it gave off a godly spirit aura. That cat was the god of time. The cat appeared around the empty space, and understood that it was quite dangerous, so it did not hurry to go up. Otherwise, it would end up like the charred corpses around it. Zhao Fu was not in a hurry to act because the cat was too wary. Any movement could cause it to run away, and if he let it run away, he would not be able to catch it again. After running around for a while, the cat opened its mouth and spat out a silver bubble. It was 1 meter wide and floated in front of it. The purple cat clumsily crawled into the bubble and slid its paws, causing the silver bubble to float towards the center of the empty space. Something astonishing happened. The silver bubble slowly floated forward and entered the range of the restriction. However, the restriction didn't move at all. It was as if it hadn't been triggered. Seeing this, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised, and he felt that it was most likely because of the bubble that the restriction had not been activated. That bubble was the time attribute. Within the bubble, the fat cat continuously slid its paws around, and the bubble slowly floated to the side of the stone stage. The fat cat looked at the jade bottle on the stone stage and deeply breathed in, looking quite pleased. Following this, it became incredibly happy and stretched out its paws and hugged the jade bottle, wanting to take it and immediately leave. At that moment, Zhao Fu understood that this was the best time to act. Boom! Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and a massive black aura flowed out from his hand, breaking through the door and turning into a massive arm that grabbed towards the fat cat. The fat cat was given a big fright and hugged the jade bottle. Its body gave off an intense silver-white light as the bubble became bigger. Boom! The huge arm made of black mist grabbed the silver bubble. The bubble looked very fragile, but it was actually very hard. The big hand held the bubble tightly, but it did not break it. However, now that he had caught Fat Cat, the next step would be even better. But everything was beyond Zhao Fu's expectations. Suddenly, the fat cat disappeared into the bubble. The bubble lost its support and couldn't withstand the huge arm's strength. It shattered with a crisp sound. The fat cat, holding the jade pendant, appeared on the other side of the empty space. Zhao Fu immediately let go of the large hand, and the golden pupil in his left eye quickly spun as a formless and powerful energy spread out. Clang, 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 the chains gave off immense force as they quickly rushed in all directions towards the fat cat. They gave off ferocious auras and gave off powerful sealing power. The fat cat looked at Zhao Fu with its silver-white eyes and looked quite panicked. It gave off a powerful godly spirit aura as a violet ancient bell appeared on its back. The needle started to spin counterclockwise, and formless time ripples spread out. The chains that had shot out suddenly retracted, temporarily escaping from Zhao Fu's control. Zhao Fu felt quite startled. The fat cat grasped this opportunity, and its two paws hugged the jade bottle as it quickly flew to the side. Zhao Fu hurriedly chased after it and took out the heaven-sealing sword. He sent large amounts of power into it and vigorously stabbed out, causing a crystalline light to shoot towards the fat cat. The fat cat dodged to the side, easily dodging this attack. However, the light stopped near it, and a crystalline magic formation appeared, giving off boundless light. Boom! Zhao Fu grabbed out with his hand, and the crystalline magic formation absorbed heaven and earth power, and gave off an incredibly powerful sealing power. The surrounding space seemed to freeze, and time seemed to slow down. The fat cat, who was nearby, seemed to be locked in the air by some sort of power, and it hugged the wine bottle as it felt even more terrified. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile. He had finally captured this time god. Suddenly, however, something unexpected happened. A violet, circular, ancient bell giving off violet light once again appeared behind the fat cat. Bang! An explosion sounded out as the ancient bell exploded, sending out a powerful shockwave. Countless rays of blinding violet light shot out, and a powerful wind spread out. After everything settled, the fat cat's body disappeared. Zhao Fu looked quite confused and hurriedly sensed his surroundings. The fat cat's aura had already disappeared, and a wave of fury flowed out. Zhao Fu could not help but curse, "Stupid cat." This time, Zhao Fu had never thought that the time god would run away. He had spent so much time preparing, but now it had all been for nothing. Moreover, the divine blood wine that he had brewed for days with his blood had been stolen by the fat cat. Zhao Fu flew into the sky and closed his eyes as he sensed his surroundings, unwilling to give up on finding the fat cat. However, he could not sense anything, and the fat cat had indeed left this place. Now Zhao Fu felt quite depressed. This time god was indeed different from other godly spirits, and it was incredibly difficult to deal with. No wonder it was so rare. It was a pity that he had not been able to capture the fat cat this time. Next time, the fat cat would not fall for it and would understand that he had set a trap for it. It seemed that he would have to collect information on other time gods, and he would not be able to capture this fat cat. Moreover, he had to find something that countered the time attribute. Without that, he would not be able to capture the time god. This time, Zhao Fu had underestimated the time god. Following this, Zhao Fu gloomily returned to his residence. Seeing that Zhao Fu had returned by himself, the god of wine understood that he had not been able to capture the time god. Looking at Zhao Fu, he seemed quite unhappy and said, "Sir, with your esteemed status, the time god will come and submit to you." Zhao Fu did not mind and lightly replied, let's leave this place first. Let's leave this place first. What happened here will attract other people." The god of wine smiled and nodded. Elsewhere, the fat cat hugged the jade bottle and happily flew through the sky before arriving next to an exquisite-looking room. Within this room, there were 3 women. They all looked quite similar, and they were most likely blood-related sisters. All of them had excellent figures and were quite beautiful. They gave off different auras, and their bodies gave off the aura of a godly spirit. Moreover, it was the aura of a time god. Chapter 2058. The oldest woman wore a violet palace dress and gave off the most mature aura, and she was called Shi Kuan. The other was slightly younger and gave off a cold aura. She wore a silver dress and was called Ning. The last woman was the youngest and looked quite lively. She wore a pink palace dress and looked quite cute. She was called Shurya. The 3 of them were not ordinary godly spirits of time, but rather rare godly spirits. Shi Kuan represented the past godly spirits, Ning represented the present godly spirits, and Shurya represented the future godly spirit. Within the godly spirit world, there were already very few time gods, and time gods with special attributes were even rarer. As such, the 3 women's identities were not simple at all, and their power was incredibly terrifying. Ordinary godly spirits were not a match for them at all, and they were among the top geniuses. The fat cat flew in through the window, and leapt into Shurya's embrace while hugging the jade bottle. This fat cat had been Shurya's pet since it was young. Shurya happily hugged the fat cat and smiled as she said, "Lil Jiao, where did you run off to? Why did you only come back now?" The fat cat happily brought the jade bottle in front of Shurya, looking as if it had obtained something good. The mouth of the jade bottle was sealed by some sort of energy, so the wine fragrance did not spread out. Shurya looked at the jade bottle curiously, wondering what was inside. Looking at the fat cat's expression, it seemed that this thing was not simple at all. Beside her, Shi Kuan lightly laughed as she said, "Looks like it's gotten into trouble again. A few days ago, it ran over to steal other people's wine. Seeing how happy it is, that bottle most likely contains wine." Ning smiled as she said, "When it was young, it shouldn't have let Lil Jiao touch wine. Now, it can't leave wine at all and drinks it like water. Yeah, you need to control Lil Gio and make it drink less. Also, this will prevent Lil Gio from causing trouble. Shurya hugged the fat cat with both hands and nodded as she smiled and said, Lil Gio, you need to be obedient in the future. You can't run around and you can't steal other people's wine. Do you understand? The fat cat meowed a few times as if it understood, but it did not seem to mind at all. It just stared at the jade bottle, looking like it was about to devour it. The power that sealed the mouth of the bottle also dispersed, and that otherworldly wine fragrance with a faint pressure floated out, spreading throughout the room. Smelling this wine fragrance, the three women felt quite surprised. It was the first time they had smelled this kind of wine, and just from this fragrance, they could tell that it was an extremely high-grade wine. Shurya asked curiously, Xiaojiu, where did you get the wine? Fat Cat didn't reply. She smelled the enchanting fragrance of the wine and couldn't wait to drink it. Shurya smiled as he said, Let me see the wine. Shurya nodded, then reached out to pick up the jade bottle that Fat Cat was hugging, and passed it to Shurya. Fat Cat whimpered a few times. Just as it wanted to drink a little, it was taken away. Furthermore, it had risked a lot to steal this wine, and it had almost been caught by someone else. Seeing its reaction, Shurya smiled and hugged the fat cat in her arms, comforting it. Big sis is just taking a look, I'll let you drink it in a bit. The fat cat meowed a few times and looked at Shurgui. Shurgui looked at the golden wine within the bottle and carefully sniffed it, and her expression became serious as she said, Yeah, Xiaojiu has really caused trouble this time. This time, Xiaojiu is really in big trouble. We'd better leave this place quickly. Shurya hugged the fat cat, looking quite confused. Seeing Shurgui's expression, Shur Ning asked seriously, Big sis, what's going on? What trouble did Xiaojiu cause? She wants us to immediately leave this place. Shurgui explained, The wine within the jade bottle is divine blood wine, which can only be brewed with divine blood. It has incredible power, and not only can it obtain a trace of divine energy, but it can also greatly change one's constitution and improve one's bloodline. This wine is a legendary wine and is incredibly precious. It's the first time I've personally seen it, and Xiaojiu seemed to have gone through a battle just then. This wine definitely wasn't given to it by someone else. It most likely stole it from someone else. Shur Ning looked quite shocked. She had never thought that this wine would have such a great background. However, since that person had such a wine, that person's identity was definitely quite terrifying. Even though they were not too afraid of such a person, it would be quite troublesome, and offending such a person would not be a good thing. Looking at her two big sisters' expressions and hearing about divine blood, Shurya understood that the fat cat had caused trouble. She hugged the fat cat and said apologetically, Big sis, I'm sorry. I'll definitely take good care of Xiaojiu in the future and won't let it cause trouble. I'll definitely teach it a good lesson. The fat cat felt that it had also caused trouble and looked quite pitiful as it meowed a few times, looking as if it was saying that it was wrong and that it would be obedient in the future. Shurgui's expression was still quite serious as she said, It's not as simple as you think. The fragrance of this divine blood wine has not settled yet, meaning that it was brewed not too long ago and that the divine blood was quite fresh. Do you know what this means? The person who brewed the wine might be a holy son, or there might be a holy son next to him. Now that the god competition has begun, it has received the attention of the entire god world. Geniuses continuously gather, and who knows how many terrifying figures there are. That person most likely came for the god competition, but we've already become enemies with him. Shurya felt quite guilty and her eyes danced with tears as she said, Big sis, what should we do? How about we send the wine back and apologize to him? Shur Ning said seriously, That definitely won't do. Who knows what sort of person that person is? If he's a good person, it would be best if we go and apologize. However, if he's a bad person, our lives will be in danger. Also, there's no need to worry too much about this. Even though the Holy Sun is terrifying, if he forces us into a corner, we have something that can threaten him. It's best to listen to Big Sis and leave this place first." Shurya nodded, still feeling quite guilty. Shurgui gave a trace of a smile and handed the jade bottle to Shurya as she comforted her, saying, "This time, after we enter the secret realm and obtain the Time God's legacy, we'll leave. Perhaps nothing will happen, so you don't have to worry too much." Hearing this, Shurya's expression became slightly better. She took the jade bottle and returned it to the fat cat. Fat Cat saw Shurya's unhappy expression and held the jade bottle with both paws in front of Shurya. It meowed a few times, wanting its master to drink a little to make her happy. Seeing how concerned the fat cat was, Shurya gave a trace of a smile and said, "Don't be like this next time, or else I'll really have to teach you a lesson." The fat cat happily nodded. Shurya smiled as she took the jade bottle and carefully poured out a bit of the wine. She tasted it and found that the taste was indeed extraordinary. Following this, Shurya poured some for the fat cat. It felt as if its soul had been raised to a higher level, and it comfortably lay in Shurya's embrace. Shur-Yi and Shur-Ning also drank some. After all, this was a rare treasure, and it was quite useful to them. Chapter 2059. After leaving that place, Zhao Fu continued to gather information about the Time God, but he did not find anything. In the end, Zhao Fu could only continue to gather information while waiting at the center of the godly world. There were still 10 or so days until the god competition, and the various godly spirits would gather. When that time came, there would most likely be information about the Time God. A few days later, Zhao Fu still did not find anything about the Time God, but he had obtained some useful information. Zhao Fu found out that there was a place where a group of sun gods had gathered. Back at the Pantheon Palace, Zhao Fu had absorbed sun god power and found that it could cause the Sun-Moon Devil Seal to react, greatly increasing Zhao Fu's yin and yang attribute. By now, Zhao Fu's blood contained water spirit power, his body contained wood spirit power, and his bones contained metal spirit power. He now lacked earth spirit power and fire spirit power, as well as yin and yang attribute. Only by grasping these 7 attributes would he be able to awaken the spirit race's Emperor Star. Of course, this was only the basic requirement. Awakening the spirit race's Emperor Star would be quite difficult. As such, Zhao Fu needed Sun God power to strengthen the Yin-Yang Devil Seal. Without their power, Zhao Fu would not be able to awaken the spirit race's Emperor Star. Zhao Fu's plan was to awaken the Emperor Stars of the 8 great races. There were 10 or so of these sun gods, and if he could absorb their power, he would be able to satisfy the requirements. When that time came, he would only be left with yin, fire, and earth attribute. However, these sun gods were too powerful. It was not an easy task to obtain their divine power. Most importantly, this place was filled with higher being experts, and no faction dared to do anything. If they caused any disturbances, they would definitely be caught by the higher beings. Zhao Fu sat in his room and thought about how he could easily obtain sun god power. Beside him, the wine god gave a trace of a smile and asked caringly, "Sir, what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? Now that I'm considered one of your people, why don't you tell me if I can help you?" Zhao Fu stopped thinking and turned to look at the god of wine. Now Zhao Fu had some information about the wine goddess. Her name was Jiyun, and she came from the most famous wine god faction in the god world. If she hadn't come from this faction, she wouldn't have so many high-grade wine-making recipes. Moreover, with her power, she was still relatively strong compared to ordinary gods. As for whether or not he should take in the god of wine, Zhao Fu was somewhat conflicted. For the sake of safety, Zhao Fu hadn't brought anyone to the center of the divine realm. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have accepted the god of wine's submission and should have allowed her to leave. On one hand, she was actually of some use to Zhao Fu. She could brew all kinds of high-quality wine. Zhao Fu thought about it carefully and decided to make things clear. You should know that experts from all sides are looking for me. If you continue to stay by my side, it will be very dangerous. Facing such powerful people, I can't guarantee your safety. At a time like this, you should stay away from me. If you really want to submit to me, you can wait for me somewhere. Once I'm done, I'll go find you, the god of wine said as she smiled. This time, I'm also here to participate in the gods' competition. As long as I enter the secret realm, I won't have to worry about anything. Zhao Fu wasn't surprised. Those who had come to the center of the god world were basically here to participate in the gods' competition. Now that the god of wine wasn't willing to go back, Zhao Fu wouldn't force her. Finally, Zhao Fu told her about the sun god. The god of wine was somewhat surprised. At first, she had thought that Zhao Fu was still thinking about how to capture the time god. She had wanted to have Zhao Fu brew some sacred blood wine to see if he could draw out the time god. However, she had never expected that Zhao Fu would once again be thinking about the sun god. As for the sun god, the god of wine, or Jiu Yun, asked, "Sir, do you only need sun god power and nothing else?" Seeing that she had a solution, Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Jiu Yun smiled and said, "I know of a sun pond that gives off a very powerful sun god spirit. Sir, you can go there to obtain sun god power. That place is a bit far from here, and many sun gods go there. Because of the special nature of that place, if you don't cause too much of a commotion, no one will be able to sense it." Zhao Fu said in pleasant surprise, "Where is the sun pond? Take me there to see it now." Jiu Yun smiled and nodded. Following this, Zhao Fu and Jiu Yun didn't waste any time and quickly arrived at that place. The sun pond was a massive crater. Zhao Fu didn't know how big it was, but he couldn't see the end of it. Moreover, it was dozens of meters deep, and the ground was scorched black and full of potholes. There were even more rocks scattered about, including boulders that were bigger than houses and ordinary small rock. This was only the periphery of the sun pond. It emitted powerful sun power, and the crater also emitted intense sunlight. Zhao Fu had heard from Jiu Yun that this sun lake was formed after the death of an extremely powerful sun god. This sun god was an ancient godly spirit, and even though it could not compare to those gods, it was still a very powerful godly spirit. The ancient god's main body was not in human form, but a three-legged golden crow. Because there was a very powerful sun power gathered here, and it was of a very high level, many people would choose to cultivate here and even become sun gods. At that moment, Zhao Fu and Jiu Yun stood at the periphery and felt a high temperature. It was impossible for ordinary people to approach the sun pond. This scorching power could roast people into dried corpses. After releasing an energy barrier to block the high temperature, Zhao Fu and Jiu Yun continued forward. After a while, Zhao Fu and Jiu Yun met some people. There were both men and women. They sat cross-legged on the ground and closed their eyes to absorb the surrounding sun power. There were thousands of them. These people seemed to be cultivating, but they had actually begun to pay attention to Zhao Fu and Jiu Yun. They could not cultivate wholeheartedly in this place because a sneak attack could take their lives. Zhao Fu looked around and did not pay too much attention to these people. After all, they were all ordinary cultivators who were cultivating here. Then, Zhao Fu and Jiu Yun continued forward. The cultivators sitting cross-legged on the ground saw that Zhao Fu and Jiu Yun did not do anything and continued to walk forward. They did not pay much attention to them and continued to cultivate. After walking for a while, Zhao Fu and Jiu Yun met some people who were sitting cross-legged on the ground and cultivating. The sun power emitted by these people was much stronger than those outside. They also noticed Zhao Fu and Jiu Yun and secretly made preparations to prevent Zhao Fu from suddenly hurting them. Zhao Fu naturally did not care about these people. He continued forward with Jiu Yun and finally arrived at the sun pond. Chapter 2060. The sun pool was very big, and it was filled with golden water. The surface of the pool was very calm and did not have any ripples at all. It was like a golden water mirror that gave off countless rays of golden light. It was quite dazzling and gave off a searing heat. The temperature of the water in the sun pool was even hotter than ordinary magma. If an ordinary person fell in, they would definitely be cooked. There were already hundreds of people outside the sun pool. They floated on the surface of the water and sat cross-legged, absorbing the powerful sun god spirit. The sun god power here was dozens of times stronger than outside, and it was even hotter. It was as if steel was about to melt, and the closer one got to the sun pool, the hotter it became. If one cultivated here, others would not be able to withstand it at all. Those hundreds of people were actually able to enter the sun pool. It could be seen that these people were not simple. Some of them were even close to becoming sun god. Zhao Fu glanced at them and did not mind much as he continued to walk forward. He gathered his power on the defensive barrier and Zhao Fu stepped into the sun pool. He did not fall into the water, but he stood on the ground, mainly for the purpose of the defensive barrier. Jiu Yun followed Zhao Fu in. The hundreds of other people felt quite surprised. They could not sense the aura of sun power from Zhao Fu and Zhao Fu's bodies. They were most likely not here to cultivate, so what was their goal? Everyone became careful and opened their eyes to look at Zhao Fu and Zhao Fu, wanting to know why Zhao Fu and Zhao Fu had come here. Zhao Fu and Zhao Fu ignored their gazes and continued to walk forward. As they walked towards the center of the pool, the temperature became hotter and hotter. Even Zhao Fu's defensive barrier seemed to be about to melt. Zhao Fu had to increase the power of the defensive barrier and stop it from melting. After a while, Zhao Fu and Zhao Fu met a few people. These people gave off light and gave off powerful godly auras. They were all sun gods, and there were 4 men and 2 women. Sensing Zhao Fu's arrival, the sun gods slowly opened their eyes. The temperature here was already extremely high, and those who could come here were undoubtedly very powerful people. At the same time, they were curious as to why Zhao Fu had come here. However, although they opened their eyes, they had no intention of talking to Zhao Fu, because Zhao Fu had not done anything harmful to them, and they did not want to care about Zhao Fu. This place was closer to the center of the sun pond, but it was not the center of the sun pond yet. The temperature in the center of the sun pond was the highest. Standing there and looking ahead, countless dazzling rays of light were emitted. It was as though there was a huge sun in the water. Due to the high temperature, the space there was constantly distorting. Zhao Fu felt the temperature there and his expression became serious. Now, these sun gods only dared to cultivate outside the center, and did not dare to enter the center because the temperature in the center was too high and they could not withstand it. Leave this place first and wait outside. Now that Zhao Fu had seen how powerful the center of the solar pond was, he wasn't overly arrogant. Zhao Fu couldn't take care of Jiu Yun anymore, so he asked her to leave first. Jiu Yun nodded gently. She stood there and looked at the sun in the water in front of her. She felt how terrifying it was. That was the place where the ancient sun god had died. She felt a sense of fear and felt that she could not resist it at all. The few sun gods watched Jiu Yun leave without saying anything. Zhao Fu continued walking towards the center of the solar pond. Seeing Zhao Fu's actions, everyone was shocked. They thought to themselves, this person actually wants to go to the center of the solar pond. Doesn't he feel the horror there? If they, the sun gods, enter there, they will die. At that moment, Zhao Fu had already walked to the edge of the sun in the water. He only needed one step to step into the center of the pool. Standing there, waves of scorching power kept surging towards Zhao Fu. The defensive barrier started to melt again. What Zhao Fu did next shocked everyone. He removed the defensive barrier and allowed the terrifying temperature to attack him. Everyone was shocked. They felt that Zhao Fu would be burned to a crisp in the next moment. As sun gods, they knew the power there. However, Zhao Fu didn't turn into a charred corpse like everyone else had thought. The terrifying temperature seemed to be burning Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu started to absorb this powerful sun power. Now, Zhao Fu wanted to absorb the sun god power, not resist it, so the defensive barrier had to be removed. Because of the divine blood, this high temperature was bearable. Zhao Fu's expression didn't change much. After spending some time getting used to the sun god power, Zhao Fu raised his foot and stepped into the center of the pool. Boom! A massive wave of heat, giving off an aura that seemed to be able to incinerate everything, rushed towards Zhao Fu. Even though it was just one step, the difference between the temperature here and outside was dozens of times greater. Before the heat wave had even arrived, Zhao Fu felt his body heat up and sweat continuously appeared. If that heat wave really hit Zhao Fu's body would be injured. Boom! Zhao Fu's body exploded out with a powerful aura and a massive black light spread out, forming a black vortex in front of Zhao Fu. Countless traces of heat wave were sucked into the black vortex, and Zhao Fu's body felt a massive wave of sun god power pour into his body, causing his body to be filled with sun god power. Zhao Fu's body also gave off light. The sun gods looked shocked and stood up from the water surface, looking at Zhao Fu. They had never thought that Zhao Fu would be able to resist that terrifying heat wave. That massive wave of heat wave was absorbed into Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu quickly refined that powerful sun god power. Sun god power continuously gathered in the surroundings and flowed into the black vortex, entering Zhao Fu's body. After absorbing that massive wave of heat wave, Zhao Fu's body could withstand the surrounding temperature. Zhao Fu dispersed the black vortex and continued onwards. The sun god's expressions became serious. Even though they did not know why Zhao Fu had entered the center of the pool, they faintly felt that it was not a small matter. Something big might happen today. Zhao Fu walked forward step by step, and the temperature became higher and higher. It was not something that ordinary people could withstand. Now, Zhao Fu's skin became dry and his lips cracked. His body felt pain as if it was being burned. This was the ancient sun god's power. Even though Zhao Fu had a divine bloodline, it was difficult for him to withstand this power. However, Zhao Fu did not give up. He endured the pain and continued onwards while absorbing the massive sun god power, causing his body to slowly adapt to the rising temperature. Chapter 2061. Finally, Zhao Fu came to the center of the sun pool. The temperature there was already the highest, and there was no other place as hot as this place. Zhao Fu stood at the center of the pool, and he seemed to be at the center of the sun. However, his body seemed to be severely dehydrated, and his skin had become dry and wrinkled. His hair had withered, and he looked like a mummy. The burning sensation became more and more painful, and Zhao Fu continuously absorbed sun god power. Boom! An explosion sounded out as a massive aura exploded out from Zhao Fu's body. Tai Chi symbols floated out of Zhao Fu's chest, giving off intense black and white light, and they started to spin. Boom! An enormous suction force spread out as countless traces of sun god power flooded into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu closed his eyes and continuously refined the sun god power. The more sun god power Zhao Fu grasped, the stronger his resistance towards the heat became. The godly spirits watched in shock as Zhao Fu continuously devoured sun god power, and they felt that he was a monster. This was simply too terrifying, and they did not have the ability to do this. If they stepped in, they would most likely be roasted to death. However, Zhao Fu was not satisfied with this, and his body started to sink like the sun sinking into the water. Everyone was on the surface of the water, and the sun god power contained in the water was even more terrifying. However, this method was too ferocious and could not be controlled at all. It was like throwing dough into a pot of oil, and the massive heat would destroy one's body through the water. It was incredibly fast, and one would not have time to react. On the surface of the water, one could control the heat, which was much gentler. As such, everyone floated on the surface of the water and did not enter the water. Everyone watched in shock as Zhao Fu's body sank into the water, and they felt that Zhao Fu had gone crazy. He dared to do something like this. Was he not afraid of death? Zhao Fu's body completely sank into the water, and he did not stop. He continued to sink until he reached the bottom. There was an enormous skeleton on the ground, and it looked like a crow's skeleton. It was grayish-white, and it seemed to have been there for countless years. Its surface had been corroded, and there were many small holes. It gave off a blinding light and an extremely terrifying heat, as if it could burn everything. Inside Zhao Fu's skeleton, the Tai Chi pattern on his chest continued to spin, absorbing the divine power of the sun. Although Zhao Fu was currently feeling intense pain, he could clearly feel that his body was beginning to transform. If this continued, Zhao Fu's body would definitely obtain the Yang spirit constitution. Thinking of this, Zhao Fu felt somewhat happy. Time slowly passed. The people standing on the surface of the water saw that after Zhao Fu sank into the water, there was no reaction. They suspected that Zhao Fu might have died inside. However, because the distance was not very far, when they sensed carefully, they found that Zhao Fu was actually absorbing the sun god's power wantonly in their direction. Oh my god! This person is so scary. He actually dares to devour the sun god power so fiercely, and it's not even the sun god power. I can't do this. Yeah. That person has this kind of power. It looks like his identity is not simple. I wonder who he is. Seeing that he can withstand that heat with just his body, I feel that he is at least an imperial prince. If he continues to devour like this, will he absorb all the sun god power in the entire sun pond? That's not very possible. If it was so easy for others to devour all the sun god power, this sun pond would not have existed for so long. I heard that there is a formless power here that can absorb the power of the world to continuously replenish the sun god power. I also heard that the huge skeleton at the bottom of the pond still has its own consciousness. If it is provoked, it will emit endless heat and burn everything nearby. AI. Now that such a terrifying person has suddenly appeared, we can't cultivate in peace. Who knows what will happen next? Boom! Just as that person finished speaking, a huge explosion sounded out. The huge skeleton gave off golden flames, which automatically gathered into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu did not absorb the golden aura flames. Instead, the golden aura flames sensed something and automatically surged into Zhao Fu's body. At that moment, Zhao Fu opened his eyes in surprise. He sensed that the golden aura flames in his body were not harmful, so he did not stop them from surging out. As the golden aura flames surged out, the Tai Chi diagram in front of his chest stopped spinning and automatically dissipated. The Tai Chi diagram in Zhao Fu's body appeared, and it was absorbing the enormous golden aura flames. The black and white Tai Chi diagram absorbed the golden aura flames and gave off a golden light that shot out of Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu's body to also give off an intense golden light. Boom! A huge explosion sounded out, and the entire sun pond's sun power surged towards Zhao Fu like a tide. At that moment, Zhao Fu did not know why, but he did not feel any heat. The others sensed this and were all shocked. They stood up from the water and stared at the pond. They had no idea what was going on. Jiu Yun stood beside the sun pond and smiled. She naturally knew who had caused all of this. Zhao Fu was indeed as she had thought. He was very terrifying and definitely worthy of her loyalty. The golden aura flames on the countless skeletons surged into Zhao Fu's body. The Tai Chi diagram in his body spun quickly, and Zhao Fu felt a huge power erupt from his body. Zhao Fu could not help but roar towards the sky. Boom! A huge sound rang out as Zhao Fu's body exploded with an intense golden light. He rushed out of the water with immense power and continued into the sky. The surrounding power of heaven and earth rapidly surged into the light. Caw! A huge cry sounded out as a huge golden crow appeared in the sky. It flapped its wings and gave off an intense light. It was like a sun had appeared in the sky, and it gave off a powerful pressure. Everyone present was stunned. They looked at the golden crow in the sky and felt insignificant. Fear surfaced in their hearts. What the hell is going on? Why are there such huge fluctuations? Also, who gave off this huge golden crow? Everyone could not help but think that of the two people who had entered the sun pond, one had already come out, and there was only one left. That person might be the one who had caused the commotion. Apart from him, no one could think of anyone else. The few sun gods were also shocked by the golden crow in the sky. The aura that the golden crow gave off was the aura of the sun pond. This crow might be the remnant power or consciousness of the ancient sun god. Chapter 2062. However, this ancient golden crow's power had been dead for so many years, yet it was still so terrifying. At the same time, everyone felt envious. If they could obtain this ancient sun god power, their power would increase by leaps and bounds. It was a pity that they could not reach the center of the sun pool, much less enter the sun pool. They could only watch as the sun god power was obtained by someone else. Moreover, that person was stronger than them, and even if they wanted to snatch it, they could not do so. The massive golden crow flapped its wings and agilely flew in the sky, giving off intense light. It was like a sun moving in the sky, and a searing heat covered the ground. Everyone could clearly sense the surrounding heaven and earth power and the heat from the sun pool being absorbed by the golden crow. After a while, the golden crow released even more power and then dove down towards the sun pool. With a splash, it landed in the water and caused countless splashes. The golden crow continued to fly downwards, and it was quite fast before entering Zhao Fu's body. A massive wave of power spread out from Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu's body to go through great changes. Every part of his body was filled with sun god power, and the final wave of power split into two. One of them fused into Zhao Fu's soul, causing Zhao Fu's soul to become stronger and give off golden light. The other wave flowed into the Taiji diagram in his body, which absorbed that wave of power and gave off a trace of golden light. Now, Zhao Fu had a yang attribute soul and could absorb sunlight power like ordinary sun gods. He could also turn into a sun and unleash extremely powerful attack. Anything that was useful to the sun god was useful to Zhao Fu, but it was not very useful to Zhao Fu. This was because Zhao Fu had too many methods and power. In comparison, this wave of power was not as powerful. However, even though it was not that powerful to Zhao Fu, this power belonged to the ancient sun god, and it would suppress other sun gods. Now, Zhao Fu stood at the bottom of the sun pool and could clearly sense that the temperature of the sun pool had decreased greatly. This was most likely related to the absorption of the sun god power. However, the power of the sun pond itself did not disappear. It still had a very high temperature, just not as high as before. Zhao Fu looked at the gigantic skeleton and saw that there were even more cracks on it. He walked up and wanted to check the skeleton, but he found that there was an invisible restriction on it. The restrictions were not very strong, and Zhao Fu used his power to break some of them and came in front of the massive head. Its head looked like a normal crow's skull, but it was incredibly big. It was 1,000 meters wide, and with its entire body, it was 100,000 meters wide. It was as big as the primogenitor statue. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and placed it on the skull, and a wave of energy spread out. Zhao Fu examined it and found that the bones were completely useless, and they could not be used to make any tools. After all, it had been dead for too long, and the bones had been severely corroded. If the ancient sun god's corpse had just died, then its value would be terrifying. Any random item could be made into a powerful divine weapon. However, if that was the case, it would not be Zhao Fu's turn to obtain it, and it would have long since been taken by others. The Sun Pond did not stop anyone from entering, and it was a place for some people to cultivate. Despite this, Zhao Fu still decided to see if he could revive the ancient sun god. The sun god power that Zhao Fu had just absorbed contained some faint consciousness, and it fused into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu planned to use this faint consciousness and power, as well as the 6 paths of reincarnation power, to try. If he could revive this ancient godly spirit, it would be of great help to Zhao Fu. Perhaps Qin would have another existence like the primogenitor statue. As for how terrifying the primogenitor statue would be, it did not need to be said. Boom! A massive wave of power exploded out from Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu's skin became gray-white and his body became slender and well-proportioned. His hair became gray-white and he grew a pair of demon horns, and a pale white eye appeared on his forehead. Zhao Fu's body gave off a gray aura flame and bone-chilling energy flooded out, giving off an incredibly ferocious aura. The surrounding sun pond's temperature suddenly plummeted, and the sun gods standing at the surface of the sun pond looked quite shocked. Why did the sun pond's temperature continuously fall? A massive wave of energy continuously spread out, and the golden sun pond's water gradually became gray. Sensing that massive wave of energy, the sun gods all looked slightly afraid and immediately left this place. Everyone else did the same, and everyone came to the outside of the sun pond. No one dared to stay within the sun pond. Now, the golden sun pond had become a gray sun pond, and traces of Qi rose up from the water's surface. Everyone stood by the sun pond and felt a bone-chilling coldness. The people standing by the sun pond looked quite shocked. They understood who had caused this. Apart from Zhao Fu, there was no one else. Jiu Yun also looked quite shocked. Zhao Fu's power was so terrifying and surpassed her expectations. This was Zhao Fu's true power. As expected from the second king of kings, the rumors about how terrifying he was were not false at all. Everyone else was looking forward to the battle between him and the other 2 emperor stars, and she was also looking forward to it. She wanted to personally see just how powerful Zhao Fu was. The people beside the sun pond looked at Jiu Yun with respect because she was related to Zhao Fu. One of the sun gods could not help but go up and ask, "May I ask who this sir is?" A trace of a smile appeared on Jiu Yun's face as she said, "I can't tell you that. Also, it's best if you don't know too much about this, or else you might lose your lives." Hearing this, everyone felt quite startled. It seemed that this person's identity was far more terrifying than they had imagined. However, after thinking about it, they could accept that someone who could cause such terrifying ripples had a terrifying identity. However, some people did not dare to stay here anymore. Who knew what would happen next? Anyway, this had nothing to do with them, and if they lost their lives here, it would not be worth it. As such, some people hurriedly left, while others chose to stay, wanting to see what would happen next. The sun god spirit, who had gone up to talk to Jiu Yun, obediently retreated and looked at the gray sun pond. The other sun gods did not say anything, and their expressions were serious as they also looked at the sun pond. Finally, their gazes returned to the bottom of the sun pond. Chapter 2063. Now, Zhao Fu was in the 6 paths of reincarnation state. Only in this state could he unleash the 6 paths of reincarnation's power to its greatest extent and revive the ancient godly spirit. The 6 paths of reincarnation's power was also related to this. Moreover, Zhao Fu had the method to summon souls, which was something that Zhao Fu had learned from someone else, who was the person who had revived Guoji. Zhao Fu took out countless soul-summoning flags. They were each 3 meters long and were made of wooden barrels. They were gray and had a pale white cloth. There was a soul character written on them, and they gave off ghostly qi. There were 1,000 or so soul-summoning flags, and under Zhao Fu's massive control, they floated in the air and gave off powerful auras. Because the ancient godly spirit's body was too big, Zhao Fu was unable to control the soul-summoning flags to fly that far. As such, his body gave off countless traces of ghostly qi, which continuously changed into 1,000 or so powerful ghosts. After these ghosts appeared, they followed Zhao Fu's instructions and took out a 3-meter-tall soul-summoning flag. They came around the massive corpse and formed a circle around it. Zhao Fu looked at the skull in front of him seriously and stretched out a hand. 6 massive waves of ghostly qi flowed out, forming 6 gray orbs of light. The 6 orbs of light gave off light and formed a magic formation with 6 circular diagrams. Boom! Zhao Fu vigorously pressed forwards, and a massive wave of 6 paths of reincarnation power flowed out of Zhao Fu's hand and entered the 6 paths of reincarnation magic formation. The 2-meter-wide 6 paths of reincarnation magic formation exploded out with a terrifying wave of 6 paths of reincarnation power that flowed towards the massive skull. After entering the skull, the wave of power flowed towards the other parts of the skull. It was as if there was a formless thread connecting the bones of the massive skull, forming a whole body instead of being separated like before. Boom! 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 Massive explosions sounded out as the ghosts holding the soul-beckoning flags exploded out with powerful Yin energy. They raised the soul-beckoning flags and sent powerful ghostly energy into them. The banners fluttered in the wind, giving off an invisible and strange power. Every banner resonated with each other, forming an invisible circle that surrounded the giant skeleton. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as the formless sphere gave off a massive suction force. The surrounding heaven and earth power was continuously sucked in, and it seemed to have a soul-devouring power as well. The people around the sun pond felt a huge suction force. Their expressions changed and they quickly retreated. They felt as if the energy and souls within their bodies were being quickly absorbed by that power. Facing this power, they were unable to resist. After retreating further away, everyone's faces turned grave. What is that person doing? How did he cause such a huge commotion? Judging from the terrifying ghostly qi on his body, he should be an extremely noble person in the ghost race. His purpose for coming here is not simple. Just now, he fused with the ancient sun god's power. I really don't know what he wants to do now, but this power is really terrifying. He has already obtained the ancient sun god's power. What else is at the bottom of the pond that caused him to give off such a huge commotion? Wait, I know. The ancient sun god's skeleton is at the bottom of the valley. Because it is not very useful, it has always been at the bottom of the pond. Could he be doing something to the ancient sun god's skeleton? Right now, his goal should be to do something to the ancient god's skeleton. Moreover, the ghost race is quite skilled in this aspect. The ancient god's skeleton also contains great power. But this ancient god has been dead for who knows how many years. With his abilities, can he revive it? I don't quite believe it, because this is not something a human can do. I don't think so. I feel that the massive ghostly qi that his body is giving off is not ordinary. It should be of an extremely high level. Perhaps it will cause some unknown results, but I'm not sure. Jiu Yun also looked at the sun pool in front of her in shock. She knew that Zhao Fu had just absorbed the sun god's power. Now that he had absorbed it, she did not know what Zhao Fu was doing. Hearing the discussions of the sun gods, Jiu Yun also believed that Zhao Fu was doing something to the ancient god's skeleton. She was not very sure whether Zhao Fu could revive the ancient sun god, because the ancient sun god had been dead for many years. The massive power of heaven and earth surged into the huge skeleton. An invisible soul power seemed to be extracted from the ground and surged towards the huge skeleton. At that moment, Zhao Fu controlled the ancient god's consciousness that had fused into his body. Traces of the ancient god's consciousness and the ancient sun god's power emerged from his body. A golden three-legged crow the size of a palm emitted golden light and emerged from Zhao Fu's chest. Then, it flapped its small wings and flew towards the skull agilely. Then, it fused into the skull. After the three-legged crow fused into the huge skeleton, a fist-sized golden flame ignited in the originally silent skull. The skull seemed to have a hint of life, and the deathly stillness no longer existed. The fist-sized golden flame kept swaying. It seemed very small in the 1,000-meter-long skull. The light it emitted seemed very weak, as if it would be extinguished in a moment. Boom! A massive wave of 6 paths of reincarnation power surged out of Zhao Fu's body once again. The 6 paths of reincarnation array emitted even more powerful power. It surged into the huge skull and surged towards the entire body through the skull. The surrounding malicious spirits that raised the soul-beckoning flags injected their massive ghostly power into the soul-beckoning flags. The circle that surrounded the huge skeleton emitted an even stronger suction force, constantly absorbing the power of heaven and earth. The invisible soul power also surged into the giant skull, and the golden flames in the skull gradually stabilized before strengthening bit by bit. The skull, which had originally contained a trace of life, now had more and more life force, and the golden flame within the skull became larger and larger. Following this, not only did the skull gain some life force, but the other bones also gained some life force. The golden flame within the skull became 1 meter wide and gave off an intense golden light. However, there was still a long way to go before the ancient god's consciousness could be revived. Moreover, with this power, the skeleton could only maintain its original state. Boom! A massive aura exploded out of Zhao Fu's body as 6 gray beams of light shot out of Zhao Fu's body and shot into the sky with immense power, giving off explosions. Seeing the 6 gray beams of light suddenly shoot out from the water, everyone felt quite startled. Chapter 2064. After the 6 rays of gray light shot into the sky, 6 gray vortexes appeared, and a massive energy aura spread out from the sky. The surrounding temperature plummeted, and heaven and earth power quickly gathered. Immediately, the weather changed as clouds swirled and the light dimmed. An eerie coldness spread out in the air, causing people's hairs to stand on end. The 6 gray vortexes absorbed more and more heaven and earth power, and the chi they gave off became more and more intense. They also gave off a massive might that suppressed everything in the heavens and earth, and from a distance, it seemed as if this place was covered by a haze. Everyone looked up at the sky in shock. This is the 6 paths of reincarnation power. Heavens, that person has the 6 paths of reincarnation power. Just who is that person? How does he have the power of the underworld's sovereign? It's the first time I've personally seen the 6 paths of reincarnation power. We've encountered an extremely terrifying existence this time. He's most likely here to participate in the god competition, or else he would not have come to the god world from the underworld. There are so many experts in the god competition this time, and all of them are so terrifying. That's right. Apart from those with 2 emperor stars, there are also a few other extremely powerful gods. It's even said that the second King of Kings will be participating. We can't afford to offend such a person. After this is over, we can get to know him. It's rare to see such a powerful person, and perhaps he'll be an opportunity for us. This time, we've also come here from other forces to participate in the gods' competition. Although there's no way for us to compete with him, as long as we enter the secret zone, there will be many benefits. When the time comes, he might be able to help us. Jiu Yun also looked at the vortexes in shock. The power that Zhao Fu gave off surpassed her expectations time and time again, causing her to fall into shock. She had no idea just how terrifying Zhao Fu was. The 6 vortexes in the sky became larger and larger, and the might they gave off became greater and greater. The air seemed to freeze, making people feel quite uncomfortable, and traces of ghostly chi spread out. Boom! 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 Massive explosions sounded out as 6 massive waves of power flowed out of the gray vortexes, bringing with them massive power as they flowed towards the skeleton at the bottom of the pool. They were incredibly fast, and it only took an instant. Massive amounts of 6 paths of reincarnation power flowed into the skeleton, causing it to tremble and give off faint light. The skeleton seemed to go through reincarnation, and a fresh aura of life spread out from it. The power of the 6 paths of samsara continuously flowed into the giant skeleton. The skeleton slowly regained its vitality, but it was still not enough. Zhao Fu retracted his hand and the 6 paths of reincarnation magic formation disappeared. Zhao Fu came before the skull and took out a dagger and cut his palm, causing blood to flow out. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu pressed a hand against the skull, and powerful divine bloodline power continuously flowed into it. An even more intense life force flowed out from the corpse, and it exploded out with a terrifying might that instantly spread out. The people around the Sun Lake felt a massive might descend on their bodies, causing their bodies to sink. At the same time, the sun god power within their bodies started to become restless. Everyone looked incredibly shocked. There was only one reason for such a massive might to cause the sun god power to become restless, which was that the ancient sun god spirit had truly revived. Bang! A massive sound once again sounded out as the skeleton started to move. Zhao Fu pulled back his hand and took a few steps back. The massive 3-legged golden crow skeleton slowly stood up and flapped its bone wings. A massive wave of power flowed out as the golden crow's body flew out of the water and into the sky. Seeing such an enormous skeleton appear in the sky, everyone was completely dumbfounded. They were personally witnessing an ancient godly spirit revive. Scree! At that moment, the 6 vortexes in the sky spread out, and the enormous 3-legged golden crow corpse flapped its bone wings and let out a loud cry that rang out in all directions. Its body gave off a brilliant golden light as the surrounding heaven and earth power continuously surged into its body. The originally grayish-white bones gradually turned a faint gold color as the world power flowed into them. The potholes on the bones that had been eroded by the world power also disappeared. The bones gave off a tough aura, and they were no longer as fragile as before. Zhao Fu flew out of the water and looked at the massive 3-legged golden crow skeleton in the sky. After absorbing countless traces of heaven and earth power, the 3-legged golden crow skeleton gave off a golden light and stopped in the sky, and the abnormal signs around it gradually disappeared. Even though the 3-legged golden crow looked incredibly massive, it was actually quite weak. Moreover, because it had been dead for so long, even if it revived, it would not have any memories. Its mind was completely blank, and it only had its instincts. Furthermore, its body was still a skeleton and had not grown any flesh. It would probably take a long time for it to recover to its previous state. At that moment, the golden crow skeleton turned its head and looked at Zhao Fu seriously. It felt a sense of familiarity and intimacy from this person, so it flew down from the sky and landed in front of Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu smiled. This 3-legged golden crow was resurrected by Zhao Fu, so he naturally had a way to control it. Even if it resisted, it would be useless. Sensing the massive aura that the golden crow was emitting, if it was nurtured, its power would definitely be terrifying. When that time came, Qin would have another capable helper. Imagining the 3-legged golden crow emitting intense light in the sky like a real sun, with countless Qin soldiers below it was a very shocking scene. He could not stay in this place for long, as it would cause a lot of disturbances. Even though it was suppressed due to the special reasons of this place, people might still notice it. Therefore, Zhao Fu waved his hand and put the huge 3-legged golden crow skeleton into a spirit pet ring. Then, Zhao Fu flew in front of Jiu Yun. Jiu Yun smiled with a hint of excitement as she said, "Congratulations, my lord, on obtaining such a treasure." Zhao Fu responded with a smile, "Let's go then." At that moment, a few sun gods walked over and bowed respectfully, "Greetings, my lord." Zhao Fu was a bit surprised and did not know why these sun gods were suddenly looking for him. He replied simply, "Yes. What can I do for you?" A sun god said with a smile, "I'm lucky to meet my lord today, so I want to get to know you." Zhao Fu chuckled. He would not stay here for long, nor was he interested in these sun gods. "Let's meet again in the future. I have something to do, so I'll leave first." Then, Zhao Fu quickly flew away with Zhu Yun. Chapter 2065. After Zhao Fu and Zhou Yun left, some people were attracted by the ripples and came to this place. However, after taking a simple look around, they did not pay much attention and left. After the ancient sun god's corpse left, the heat from the sun pond greatly weakened. However, it still contained intense heat. They did not have to stay on the surface of the water to cultivate, and they could directly enter the water. Zhao Fu and Zhu Yun returned to the tavern and examined their bodies in their rooms before smiling. Now that they had obtained the Sun Soul, Zhao Fu only needed to obtain 3 more attributes to obtain the Yin-Yang 5 Elements constitution. This would prepare him for awakening the Spirit Race's Emperor Star. After awakening the Spirit Race's Emperor Star, it would be the Water Race's Emperor Star. There was also the massive 3-legged Golden Crow corpse. It needed very powerful Sun attribute power to recover, and Zhao Fu had to find treasures like that for it in the future. Zhao Fu looked forward to seeing it recover its full power. Zhu Yun also smiled and said, "Sir, what should we do next? Do we continue to search for the Time God?" Zhao Fu thought about it before replying, "There's no need. There are only a few days left until the gods' competition, we just have to wait for it to begin. We'll definitely encounter the Time God in the secret realm, so the most important thing to do now is to find something that can counter the Time God." Zhu Yun smiled and nodded. Following this, Zhao Fu and Zhu Yun went to the various shops to gather information and to buy things that could counter the Time God. They definitely could not let the Time God escape next time. Days passed, and more godly spirits gathered from all directions. The godly world center became more and more bustling, and there were many people everywhere. However, as time passed, many terrifying experts searched for Zhao Fu even more frequently. If they could not catch Zhao Fu now, they might not be able to catch Zhao Fu in the future. Some terrifying experts used their powerful senses to cover a large region and sense everyone within to see if Zhao Fu was among them. After sensing a place, those terrifying figures would head to the next place and start to search thoroughly. Zhao Fu's eyes lit up, and Zhao Fu's eyes lit up. Boom! Just as Zhao Fu and Zhao Fu were in the inn, a powerful will descended, causing the entire city to fall silent. Following this, that terrifying will gave off an unstoppable power as it swept past everyone's bodies and disappeared. The people who had calmed down once again spoke up, and the quiet city once again became lively. "It's already the 8th time today. Just what are these experts doing? They're making me so nervous. I'm afraid that I'll die to their wills." "You don't even know that? Those experts are looking for the second King of Kings. You should have heard about the King of Kings, right? There's no need to say more about how terrifying he is. Yeah. These experts all want to find Zhao Fu and figure out his identity, as well as the secrets he's hiding. This is a fatal attraction to these experts, so these experts are willing to pay any price to find him." Sigh. "It's a pity. I wonder if the second King of Kings dares to come to the center of the godly world. I wanted to see the battle between him and the god race's geniuses, but it seems that I won't have that chance. It's quite a pity. His battles in the Outlander world were incredibly shocking, and I was looking forward to seeing his true power. However, he most likely won't dare to come anymore. With so many experts searching, he won't be able to hide." Forget it. Let's not talk about this. This isn't something we can interfere with. Moreover, a battle between two people with emperor stars is quite interesting. Within the inn, Zhao Fu looked at the sky seriously. With so many higher beings searching for him, if he did not have that command medallion, Zhao Fu would have been discovered by that expert. Even though Zhao Fu had been hiding his aura, he was unable to resist the senses of such an expert, so Zhao Fu would still have been discovered. However, now that he had this command medallion, he did not have to worry about anything. 10 or so days had passed, and Zhao Fu wondered how the moon god Sprout was doing in the celestial spirit palace. He also wondered if Yi Lanshi would be in any danger after entering the darkness forbidden region. The moon god Sprout going to the celestial spirit palace was a very good thing. As a Saint class faction, the celestial spirit palace would be able to unleash all of the moon god Sprout's potential, and the moon god Sprout would become a celestial there. Zhao Fu was more worried about Yi Lanshi, as he was not sure what was going on there. The power there was terrifying, and even Zhao Fu would not be able to defend against it. It was very likely that Yi Lanshi would die there. Jiu Yun smiled as she held a wine flask and walked over to Zhao Fu. "Sir, this is a new wine that I brewed. Do you want to try it?" Over the next few days, Zhao Fu and Jiu Yun did not have much to do and were waiting for the competition to begin. Jiu Yun did not have much to do, so she started to brew wine, and Zhao Fu gave her many precious ingredients. Zhao Fu lightly smiled and nodded. Following this, the two of them sat at a table and tasted the wine. They even ordered a table full of dishes, and they chatted with smiles on their faces. Jiu Yun really wanted to know everything about Zhao Fu, but everything about Zhao Fu was too mysterious, and no one knew anything about him. She was also incredibly curious as to why such a terrifying person like Zhao Fu had appeared. Zhao Fu answered some simple questions, satisfying some of Jiu Yun's curiosity. However, Jiu Yun's face became red as she sat on Zhao Fu's body, and she took off her clothes, revealing her enchanting body, wanting to offer herself to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu looked at Jiu Yun in his arms and felt quite helpless. He could only look at her and not touch her. If Zhao Fu was the same as before, Zhao Fu would have long since tasted Jiu Yun. Actually, as the god of wine, Jiu Yun's body gave off an enchanting wine fragrance, which was quite tempting. Jiu Yun could also see that Zhao Fu was quite interested in her, so she seduced Zhao Fu even more. However, nothing happened in the end. A few days later, the competition that many of the deities had been waiting for finally began. Countless deities gathered in one place like a tide. There was nothing special about that place. It was just a huge platform that was 1/10 the size of the world. It was made of milky white jade. Now, the platform was filled with people, so densely packed that it was impossible to count them. It was unknown how many deities were participating in this competition. At the front of the platform, there was a large jade platform, on which long tables had been set up. There were spirit fruits and wine on the tables, and beautiful maidservants stood around, as well as guards with powerful auras. Chapter 2066. People giving off terrifying auras descended from the sky and landed on the jade stage. These experts were all people from large factions in the godly world. This competition was the biggest event in the godly world, and almost all of the large factions people had returned. Apart from these people from the godly world, there were also some experts from the Heaven Awaken world. No one knew what their goal was. With so many people gathered on the stage, some people stood where they were, waiting for the competition to begin, while others gathered together and chatted. The scene was quite grand and lively, and it was incredibly noisy. Zhao Fu and Jiu Yun had long since arrived here, and stood in a hidden corner, waiting for the competition to begin. No one noticed Zhao Fu because there were simply too many people. Even though Zhao Fu was wearing a cloak, many people with cloaks looked quite mysterious. They would never have thought that the second king of 10,000, who would not come to the competition, was hiding beside them. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a ferocious aura spread out. A 3-meter-tall, well-built young man with fluffy golden hair and golden eyes flew down from the sky and landed at the front of the stage. Everyone's gazes fell on him as they excitedly cried out. This person was quite famous in the godly world and was one of the strongest competitors for the position of God's ruler. He was called the 100-Beast God, and this godly spirit was a type of beast god. However, he was far more powerful than ordinary beast gods. Ordinary beast gods only had one type of ordinary beast god power, while the 100-Beast God had 100-Beast God power, which was dozens of times more powerful than ordinary beast gods. He naturally came from a very large faction, one of the most powerful factions in the godly world. His name was 100-Beast God. 100-Beast God landed on the stage and crossed his arms as he looked at the people around him condescendingly. The people around him did not dare to stand next to him and obediently retreated to the side. Boom! An explosion sounded out as a holy and pure aura spread out. A young man with silver-white hair and silver-white eyes wearing white robes appeared, giving off a warm aura. She was the light god, and had extremely powerful light energy. The light god force she was in was also one of the strongest forces in the god realm, and was supported by countless people in the god realm. It was one of the most popular god spirit forces. The name of the god of light was Hikari Kemui. After Hikari Kemui appeared on the platform, he had a faint smile on his face. The people around him had heard about all kinds of things about him and knew that he was not a person who would bully others casually. Therefore, they were not afraid of him and had excited smiles on their faces. Some people couldn't help but step forward to greet him. Hikari Kemui was gentle and gave a simple response. Everyone couldn't help but crowd around him like stars surrounding the moon. Hikari Kemui was also one of the strongest competitors for the Lord of Pantheon. If they could have even the slightest relationship with such a person, it would be an unimaginable benefit. Usually, they would not be able to get rid of someone of his level. Boom! Boom! Another 2 massive explosions sounded out as 2 powerful rays of light giving off massive auras shot over from the horizon. One was surrounded by violet arcs of lightning, while the other was black and gave off devouring power. The 2 rays of light gave off massive auras as they landed on the platform, causing shock waves to ripple out as 2 figures appeared in front of everyone. One had short violet hair that stood on end, making him look like a hedgehog. He was tall and had a coarse face, and he was not wearing any clothes. His body was surrounded by countless arcs of lightning, giving off a massive might. The other had messy gray hair and was dressed in clothes. He had a skinny body and an ugly face, and he gave off a devouring power that devoured the energy around him. No one dared to get close. The violet-haired big man was a lightning god called Lei Tianba. He came from a very powerful lightning god faction and was also someone who was competing for the Lord of Pantheon. Lei Tianba had lightning power, which was the most noble lightning emperor's power. It had terrifying destructive power and could easily destroy anything. There was nothing that could stop his power. The ugly young man was a devouring god called Corpse Devourer. He came from a very terrifying faction in the godly world, which was called the God-Devouring faction. Every godly spirit in this faction was a devouring god, and they had the power to devour everything. Corpse Devourer was the most terrifying of the devouring gods, and his devouring power was dozens of times stronger than ordinary devouring gods. Ordinary devouring gods were not a match for him at all, and they could only feel terror when facing him. Because he was ugly, Corpse Devourer was quite perverted, and he liked to eat anyone who made him unhappy. Ordinary people did not dare to offend him at all, and they could only run when they saw him. As such, when Corpse Devourer appeared, everyone looked terrified and quickly retreated, creating a large space for him. The 2 competitors, who were both master of Pantheon, attracted the attention of everyone present. Many of the powerhouses on the high platform were also sizing them up with great interest. Boom! An explosion sounded out as a silver-white ray of light giving off a massive aura descended from the sky and landed on the ground. Countless traces of silver-white moonlight scattered as a figure appeared in front of everyone. The person who had come was dressed in a white palace dress and had jet-black hair. She was extremely beautiful, had fair skin, and had a graceful figure. She gave off a cold aura, and she looked like an unreachable celestial maiden. This woman was a moon god, and she was called Yuchan. She came from the godly world's most powerful moon god faction, which was the 9 moon goddesses. Yuchan was this generation's goddess of the 9 moon goddesses, and she had the purest moon god constitution and pure moon god power. It was said that her soul had fused with the moon, and she had terrifying power. At the same time, with her world-shaking beauty and celestial spirit's aura, she looked like a celestial maiden who lived in the moon palace. She was one of the top beauties in the godly world. She was a powerful competitor in this generation, and she was loved and supported by countless people. Suddenly, crimson flowers slowly descended from the sky, looking like a rain of flowers. At the same time, a powerful aura spread out. Everyone saw a woman wearing a white dress. She had long black hair and platinum-colored eyes. She gave off a noble aura and a celestial spirit's aura, making her seem like a celestial. She was followed by 6 beautiful maids who carried flower baskets and sprinkled flowers on the ground. Following this, she brought the 6 female attendants and descended from the sky. This attracted the gazes of countless people, and everyone automatically made way for them. She was the goddess palace's goddess, and she was called Xin Qianhua. She was the most powerful goddess in the goddess palace, and she had sent people to bring back Nu Chun. However, Nu Chun had been taken away by Zhao Fu. Chapter 2067. The Goddess Palace was the most powerful female faction in the God Realm, and they had a lot of influence in the hearts of the women in the God Realm. Adding on that their methods were quite crazy and twisted, many people feared them and did not dare to offend them. Xin Qianhua's talent was extraordinary, and she was the most outstanding person in the Goddess Palace. She had goddess power, and more accurately, it was a high-level celestial power. It was extremely terrifying, and it was dozens of times more powerful than ordinary godly spirit power. At the same time, Xin Qianhua had done many terrifying things in the God Realm, such as castrating millions of men, hanging an imperial prince naked at the city gates, and massacring a faction that cultivated evil technique. Everyone was scared when they saw her. Even though she was quite beautiful, she was too vicious and cruel back then, like a poisonous flower. Xin Qianhua gave a trace of a smile as she brought her 6 female attendants in front of Yuchan and smiled. "Long time no see, Chan Air." Yuchan frowned and said coldly, "I'm not familiar with you, so don't call me that." Xin Qianhua laughed out loud, his voice slightly overbearing. "You're a woman that I've taken a fancy to, so naturally you're my woman. This time, I'll definitely obtain you. Right now, my goddess power is even stronger." Yuchan's beautiful eyes coldly looked at Xin Qianhua as she said, "Oh? We'll know once we enter the secret realm." Xin Qianhua smiled as she said, "I also want the secret realm to open quickly." Yuchan looked away and did not say anything else. Xin Qianhua brought her 6 female attendants and stood next to Yuchan. Seeing that Yuchan did not want to pay any attention to her, Xin Qianhua did not mind and looked ahead, waiting for the competition to begin. In the distance, Zhao Fu looked at Xin Qianhua and the others in surprise. Zhao Fu did not recognize Xin Qianhua, but he recognized one of the female attendants behind her. It was the mature woman who had wanted to take Envy Chun with her. He had never thought that he would meet her here. Thinking about what she had said before, Zhao Fu quickly understood Xin Qianhua's identity. She was the goddess of the Goddess Palace. Boom! A massive wave of killing intent descended, causing the surrounding temperature to plummet. Everyone's hairs stood on end and they felt a wave of fear as they looked towards the sky. A cold-looking young man with blood-red hair, blood-red eyes, and blood-red clothes appeared in the sky. His body gave off a blood-red light, and he gave off an extremely powerful killing intent, causing the atmosphere to become extremely dangerous. The crimson-haired young man's name was Sha Ming, and he was a killing god. He came from the most terrifying killing god faction in the divine world. This faction was filled with killing gods, and every single one of them was extremely bloodthirsty. It was unknown how much blood their hands were stained with, and they were extremely terrifying. They were also incredibly powerful as they focused on killing and slaughtering. As they grew stronger and stronger, no one could stop them. Their existence caused all of the gods in the god world to feel fear. The killing god faction was the second most powerful faction in the godly world. Even though the blood-haired young man had not awakened an emperor star, his strength was incredibly close to an emperor star. He had mastered the power of the slaughter origin. This slaughter origin was unimaginably terrifying. If he met a god, he would kill a god. If he met a Buddha, he would kill a Buddha. If he met a myriad of living beings, he could kill the heavens. There was nothing he couldn't kill. Some people guessed that if he could obtain the position of the ruler of all gods, he would definitely awaken the god race's emperor star. Sha Ming descended from the sky and coldly looked around. Everyone felt as if they had been stabbed by a saber, and they quickly retreated in fear, trying to get away from that place. Sha Ming looked away and did not do anything else. Zhao Fu's expression became quite serious. He could sense that these people were all incredibly powerful, and he felt a wave of pressure within his heart. This was especially so for Sha Ming. He was the most terrifying person out of all of them, and his killing power was incredibly terrifying. Boom! Suddenly, an explosion sounded out as a powerful 10,000 godly might descended. Sensing this might, the godly spirits' expressions fell and they quickly retreated. A figure giving off a powerful aura appeared on the stage. This figure was 2 meters tall and had a muscular body. He looked like a demon and had 2 pairs of black wings on his back. He gave off a demonic chi and his power was incredibly great, as if he reigned above 10,000 godly spirits. Seeing this figure and sensing that terrifying aura, the scene fell silent. Everyone knew who this person was and automatically made way for him. He was the most terrifying person in recent years and the most legendary person. In just 10 years, he had gone from a weak godly spirit to an existence that countless people could only look up to. Moreover, his abilities were incredibly terrifying, and he had the power to devour countless godly spirits. As he devoured more and more, his 10,000 godly power became more and more powerful. Countless godly spirits greatly feared him. He was even more terrifying than the god of devouring, and he was like a ferocious demon. Everyone often heard of his name, and he was the most famous person in recent years. His current power could rival Sha Ming's, and his strength was incredibly close to that of an emperor star. He was one of the most powerful competitors for the position of the ruler of all gods. Some people guessed that if he could obtain the position of the ruler of all gods, he would definitely awaken the god race's emperor star. His appearance caused countless factions to feel incredibly envious. How could the demon god emperor be so lucky to find such a peerless genius in the outer domains of the godly world? Geniuses of this level were incredibly rare, and even within many terrifying factions, there were not many people like him. Some people said that his potential was even more terrifying than that of someone with 2 emperor stars. After all, he had grown from a weak godly spirit to such a terrifying state in just 10 years, which was even faster than someone with 2 emperor stars. It could be said to be a miracle. No one knew why such a terrifying person had appeared or why he had the power to devour godly spirits. If he continued to grow at this speed, His future accomplishments would definitely not be any weaker than someone with 2 Emperor stars, and he might even surpass someone with 2 Emperor stars. Even though his strength was about the same as Sha Ming's, everyone acknowledged that his potential was greater than Sha Ming's, and he would surpass Sha Ming sooner or later. Now, he was the person that the Demon God Emperor placed the most importance on, and the Demon God Emperor would not refuse any of his requests. Moreover, he would fully support him, believing that he would lead the Demon God Emperor to the peak in the future. Zhao Fu looked at that figure in shock. Hearing the voices around him, Zhao Fu realized who this person was. He was the most famous God Ke, the Demon God Emperor's emperor. He was the skinny God Ke from Zhao Fu's memories. In just 10 short years, he had become so terrifying. This was simply shocking. Zhao Fu was now certain of his identity. Even though his appearance had changed greatly, the divinity in Zhao Fu's mind strongly reacted to him. Luckily, he had the command medallion, or else he would have sensed that he was here. Chapter 2068. This competition of the gods could resolve this enmity, so Zhao Fu looked away and did not say anything else. After landing on the stage, God Ke gave a domineering and cold smile. Everyone's expressions were filled with fear, and they couldn't help but retreat, not daring to get close to him. The other peerless geniuses looked at God Ke with serious expressions. They knew how powerful God Ke was and had heard all sorts of things about God Ke. To them, God Ke had become so powerful in just 10 years, making them feel quite shocked. After all, they did not have the ability to do such a thing. Of course, they did not know that God Ke had become so powerful because of another person. God Ke looked around and did not pay any attention to anyone else. With the God Demon Emperor's help, it had devoured over 10,000 godhoods, and the terrifying power gave it immense confidence. Its goal this time was to awaken the God race's Emperor Star. If it had a massive God race's Emperor Star, it would not lose to that person in terms of fate. Moreover, it was now even more powerful. With this power and fate, even if it faced that person in the future, it would not fear that person at all. It knew that it was all thanks to that person that it had become so powerful, and it did not have the ability to do so by itself. What was important was that it had been affected by that person, and if it could devour that person and fuse all of that person's power, its power and fate would be more than 100 times greater than it was now. When that time came, who could compete with it? The experts on the stage also paid attention to God Ke. They had heard about God Ke, and some of the people sitting next to the God Demon Emperor's faction even praised God Ke. This caused the God Demon Emperor's faction to smile and feel that they had gained a lot of face. God Ke was indeed a pleasant surprise for them, and it was far beyond what they had expected. Back then, the emperor that they had nurtured with all of their strength had still been defeated by God Ke. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as a ray of black light giving off a massive aura descended. A massive aura of destruction flooded out, causing everyone to cry out. 2 figures appeared on the stage. One was a woman with long, violet hair and a peerlessly beautiful face. She was tall and slim, and she wore black clothes. She gave off a cold aura and an intense aura of destruction, as well as an intense might. This pressure seemed to be innately above them, and it was a pressure that only the God race's imperial star possessed. The other was her maid. She had a beautiful face and a mature figure. Her aura was not weak either. The violet-haired woman's appearance attracted everyone's gazes, and God Ke looked at her with a serious expression. This was because the violet-haired woman was one of the 2 possessors of Emperor Stars. Even though she came from the Heaven-Awakened world's godly domain, and most people did not know much about her, just from the might she gave off, everyone knew who she was. She was one of the 3 people that countless people were looking forward to in the contest of the gods. Although her appearance caused everyone to look excited and agitated, she had also made a brief introduction of herself. She was the god of destruction and came from the strongest faction in the god realm. Her name was Mieglaze. In the godly domain, as the owner of an emperor star, she was extremely famous. There were all sorts of things about her in the godly domain, and she was extremely legendary. She was someone that everyone in the godly domain valued. The godly domain's strength had always been below that of the godly world, and the godly world had an innate advantage. The power here was a holy land for godly spirits, so the godly domain had always been suppressed by the godly world. As such, there were some people in the godly world who looked down on the godly domain's people, causing many conflicts between the godly world and the godly world. There had even been a few battles, resulting in many losses. Adding on the threat of other races, they had finally given up on fighting. The godly world no longer dared to look down on the godly domain, and the godly domain had started to fear the godly world. Mielu's goal in coming to the godly world was to represent the godly domain and become the ruler of all gods. She wanted the other gods in the godly world to understand how powerful the godly domain was. At the same time, she would use the massive amount of fate from becoming the ruler of all gods, as well as the support of many godly spirits, causing her power and faction to become even more powerful. After Mielu appeared, she did not pay much attention to the people around her because the two people she cared about were not here yet. Those two people were the ones that she acknowledged as her opponents, and she did not care about anyone else. As for those two people, one was naturally the possessor of the godly world's Emperor Star, and the other was Zhao Fu. Boom! Not too long after, an explosion sounded out as the sky trembled and a massive aura spread out. A rainbow-colored ray of light containing immense power landed on the stage, and a might covered the surroundings. This caused countless godly spirits to feel an innate might. It was a might that only the possessor of the god race's supreme Emperor Star could have. After the light dissipated, a white-clothed young man with a cold expression and an emotionless expression appeared before everyone's eyes. He was the person that everyone in the godly world paid attention to, and he was the most terrifying person in the godly world's younger generation. He was the possessor of the supreme Emperor Star, and he was called Tianyu. The most powerful factions in the godly world were called the World God factions. These godly spirits had world source god power, which was a very high-level power. Godly spirits with this kind of power were much more powerful than ordinary godly spirit. As this generation's godson, Tianyu was undoubtedly the most outstanding person, and the world source god power he had was the purest kind. There were all sorts of things about him in the godly world, and all of them were shocking. Almost everyone in the godly world knew about him. If it was not for Zhao Fu, he would have been the greatest competitor for the position of Master of Gods. He was an unsurmountable mountain in front of countless people. As the most powerful expert in the godly world, his appearance caused the entire crowd to go into an uproar, and everyone excitedly cried out his name. This was the treatment that the most powerful expert in the godly world received. He was worshipped, watched, envied, loved, and envied by countless people. Facing everyone's cheers, Tianyu's expression did not change at all, and he coldly stood there. There was a reason why Tianyu was like this. In order to make his world source god power as powerful as possible and to better control it, he had made his consciousness mimic the heaven and earth's consciousness. His world source god power seemed to be like the heaven and earth's power, and his control over the world source god power had reached the pinnacle. However, he had lost a lot of his emotions, which was why he looked so cold and emotionless. However, because his power surpassed ordinary people's imaginations, he was able to become the most powerful person in the godly world, reigning above countless godly spirits. Chapter 2069. Tianyu's gaze fell on Mielu's body. From the moment he had arrived, he had sensed Mielu's existence. Similarly, Mia Lu had sensed Tian Yu's existence when he had arrived. The two sovereign god race emperor stars could sense each other, and as they looked at each other, it was as if no one else existed. Their expressions became slightly serious as they understood how powerful the other was. They knew that the other was one of the most powerful opponents, and if they wanted to become the ruler of all gods, they had to defeat the other. I look forward to our battle. I hope that you can display your full power, or else you'll lose to me, Liuli said to Tian Yu with a serious expression. Tian Yu's expression was cold as he said calmly, "Is that so? However, it's impossible for me to lose to you. I also look forward to our battle. I want to see just how powerful you are as someone with a divine domain emperor star." Mia Lu gave a trace of a domineering smile as she said, "I won't disappoint you. We'll know who wins and who loses after this." Tian Yu was expressionless as he looked away and did not say anything else. Mia Lu looked away and smiled as she looked ahead. The female attendant next to her also smiled as she stood by her side. She believed that her master would be able to defeat Tian Yu. Now that the person with two emperor stars had appeared, everyone's gazes were gathered on them. The people around them did not even dare to breathe too loudly. Their battle was indeed the battle that everyone was looking forward to the most. Time gradually passed, and everyone could not help but feel a trace of anticipation because that person had not appeared yet. If they were looking forward to seeing the person with two emperor stars, then the person with 6 emperor stars, who was the second king of kings, was 100 times more so. It was not just the ordinary people. The terrifying experts on the stage were also looking forward to his appearance. Many people had long since heard about how terrifying he was and what terrifying things he had done, but they had not personally seen just how terrifying he was. Therefore, many people were even more looking forward to the appearance of such a person who shocked the world and was the focus of everyone's attention, to receive their admiration and admiration. Tian Yu and Mia Lu also wanted to see that person with 6 emperor stars. If he appeared, he would be their most powerful opponent, and they did not have the confidence to defeat such a terrifying person. That person was like a massive boulder weighing down on their hearts. To them, only that person could make them feel like this. Even if they met someone else with an emperor star, they would not feel such pressure. However, even though everyone was looking forward to it, they knew that it was impossible for that person to appear. After all, there were countless higher beings on the platform waiting for him to appear. If he appeared, it would be almost impossible for him to escape, as no one could escape from so many higher beings. The only outcome was death, and that person would not be so stupid as to appear here. What they didn't know was that the person they were looking forward to was already here, hiding in the crowd and quietly watching everything. Time passed bit by bit, and the crowd's expectations for that person gradually decreased. In the end, they looked ahead because the competition was about to begin. Boom! A heaven-shaking explosion rang out, causing the entire godly world to tremble. Countless rays of white light shot down from the sky, and a boundless divine might weighed down on everything in the world. Everyone felt incredibly small and powerless. This was the might that the Pantheon mirror gave off. The competition between the leaders of the gods was something that the Pantheon mirror approved of, so it had a lot to do with it. Otherwise, that secret realm would not have existed in front of the Pantheon mirror for such a long time and received its various buff. Under such immense divine might, the higher beings all looked quite serious. In front of this power, they could not resist at all. Heaven and earth power quickly gathered in the sky, continuously condensing and compressing, forming an enormous white orb. This orb was 100,000 meters wide and looked like a white piece of jade. There were countless divine runes on it, and it gave off an extremely powerful aura. It was right on the platform, and it was incredibly shocking. Boom! Divine runes lit up on the surface of the orb, and a massive might spun out and landed on the countless godly spirits' bodies on the platform. The countless people on the platform felt a massive power weigh down on their bodies, as if a small mountain was weighing down on them. The godly spirits used their divine power to resist that might. The competition of the gods was not something that just anyone could participate in. First, one had to have divinity. If one did not even have divinity, one would be heavily injured by the orb, and without divinity, one could not participate in the competition of the gods. Moreover, one had to have a certain amount of power to enter the secret realm. Ordinary godly spirits did not have the right to enter either. This was a test that would eliminate most of the people who did not meet the requirement. If it was an expert, they would not be affected at all, but some of the weaker people could not hold on and fell to the ground. As long as someone fell to the ground, the divine runes on the sphere would flash, and an invisible force would toss the person who had fallen off the platform. Zhao Fu's expression was normal and did not change at all. This might did not affect Zhao Fu much, and Zhao Fu could easily endure it. Time gradually passed. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out once again, and another wave of pressure descended on the platform, causing everyone's bodies to sink again. Those who had been trembling and sweating profusely could not endure it any more and collapsed to the ground, panting and feeling quite embarrassed. This might was only a basic test, and if one could not even pass the basic test, it meant that one's power was not enough, and one would not even have the right to enter the secret realm. The divine runes on the orb once again flashed, and those who had collapsed to the ground were all thrown off the platform. Everyone else continued to take the test and endured the massive might. Boom! A while later, a massive might once again descended, weighing down on the godly spirits' bodies. This might was quite powerful, and even the more powerful godly spirits used their godly divinity's power. Their bodies gave off different rays of light to resist that might. Many people were unable to endure this might and collapsed to the ground, after which they were thrown off the platform. The platform had been filled with people, but now more than half of them were gone. A while later, the massive jade orb in the sky dissipated, and the might disappeared. The pressure also disappeared. Only those who were able to stand on the platform now had the right to participate in the gods' competition. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.